Hello everyone, how are you? Welcome to a new video. Before we begin today's chapter, I invite you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, it would help me a lot if you left a comment with your opinion, as that motivates me to keep bringing you more stories. Now then, get comfortable and I'll leave you with the fanfic.
Chapter 1. Konoha's Outskirts. Namikaze Minato, the Yondaime Hokage, drew upon the last of his chakra as he and his wife gazed at their beloved son. The Sandaime and his squad looked at the tragic scene with tears flowing down their eyes. Fuin Jutsu, Shiki Fuin, the death god materialized behind Minato. The fourth looked at his son's face with bottomless regret as he and his wife spoke their last words to their son. He looked at Sarutobi. Keep him safe, Sandaime. He is a hero of the leaf and must be treated as such. Promise me. Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Sandaime Hokage, nodded solemnly. I promise. Minato released chakra.
Seal.
The Kyuubi's yang chakra was sealed into little Naruto. The In chakra was in the process of being sealed into the Shinigami, but Minato was faltering. A bit of the In chakra was sealed into young Naruto as well. Minato's face grew anguished. Kushina had already passed out, but he could still feel her life force faintly. He would not let his son be tainted by the fox's malice. Drawing on the power of the seal, he tried to pull out the In chakra sealed in Naruto forcibly, but to his horror he was drawing out Naruto's soul as well. Hastily he released the sealing technique and Naruto's soul snapped back into its body. The seal was somewhat changed from the traditional Reaper death seal. He looked at the Sandaime one last time and secured the Shiki Fuin with the 8 trigram seal. It would allow Naruto the Kyuubi's chakra with purification. He felt himself fading into darkness. Good luck, Naruto. The protective dome wavered and the Sandaime rushed in to gather Naruto in his arms.
Kushina-sama is alive, Sandaime-sama.
The Sandaime felt relief on hearing this. The child would not be alone. Get her to the medics now. I will take Naruto myself. The consequences of this day's events would be beyond comprehension. 13 years later, Uzumaki Naruto was currently bored. So bored in fact that he had his head lying comfortably upon his desk, drooling onto the floor, a clear indication that he was drifting off to sleep. Naruto was predictably reaching for one of the multiple bowls of miso ramen floating around in his dreamland. His drooling increased to what one might call gross levels, and he let out a rather happy snore. The food of the gods. Naruto. Naruto was rudely awakened from his fantasy land and excitably jumped onto the table. He looked around energetically before fixing his gaze upon the one jutsu dreaded by all academy students. Iruka-sensei's demonic giant head jutsu. Naruto, you inattentive little brat. Tell me, why was Senju Hashirama the most feared ninja on the battlefield of the First War? Naruto scratched his head. Well, he could do a lot of powerful jutsus? A tick mark appeared on Iruka's visage. The class sniggered at Naruto, Kiba Inuzuka taking particular pains to mock the dead last. Idiot! He could do a lot of powerful jutsu. He mocked in a sing-song voice. Shut up, doggy! Naruto yelled. Iruka blew up yet again. Quiet! Unsurprisingly, the class quieted down. Naruto, you will read up on the Shodai Hokage and give us all a detailed presentation on his life tomorrow, without fail. Do you understand? Naruto scowled. Yes, sensei. People really did not understand. How was he to read history without books, and how was he to get books without a library? They always refused to entertain demons in the village. They always called him Demon. Why? His musings were interrupted by Iruka calling for the class to follow him for meditation exercises. He distractedly followed the rest of the class. Once they were all assembled, Iruka asked them to place a leaf upon their forehead and concentrate upon it and it only. He said it would help them later in controlling chakra. Hey forehead, I guess you won't have any worries of the leaf falling off your forehead, will you? Naruto scoffed mentally at Ino and Sakura's bickering over Sasuke-kun. He had seen 2 graduating classes come and go, and this class was by far the worst to him. Sasuke the emo had turned away his friendship offer with harsh words. Sakura and Ino, intent on pleasing Broody, had always shot him down. Hinata fainted whenever he was within 3 feet of her. Ha! The other 2 batches were okay, compared to this one. He would have passed out with them too, if not for the bunshin technique that needed to be demonstrated at the exams. Unfortunately, he always produced a sickly version of himself that looked ready to die. Thus he had endured in the academy as a failure, a daube. Sasuke always reminded him of being a daube, along with Kiba. Anger filled him as he thought of the multiple taunts he had endured and the pointed glares he had received from the townsmen. Everyone seemed to hate him, and he did not know why. "Concentrate, Naruto," Iruka snapped at him. Sighing, Naruto focused his attention upon the leaf on the center of his forehead. It was hard for him to remain still. No matter what others thought of him, he tried his best in the classes, never slacking off. He would command their respect in the end, no matter what. He closed his eyes and focused upon the leaf. Felt nice and calm. He showed himself to be a loudmouth and prankster for just one purpose only, to forget his childhood angst. If he kept thinking of his beatings and mistreatment, he would surely go mad. He had no happy memories, so he staved off his life's misery with pranks and such. Shrugging off his melancholy, he focused again. As usual, he felt the chakra of everyone in the room. He concentrated even more, and he could feel it. Calm and flowing. It was chakra, undoubtedly, but it felt so very different from his own. This felt powerful yet peaceful, intimidating but soothing. He felt connected to everybody. He could even feel the emotions of people around him. His always hyper-agitated mind felt calm for the first time, and he loved this feeling. He calmly let a dopey smile show on his face. "Naruto." Naruto lazily opened his eyes. "What, Iruka-sensei? That felt so nice and you had to break me." "What were you doing, Naruto? There was blue chakra coming out of your body." "Huh, there was? I felt so good. I could feel what all of you felt and their chakras." Iruka's eyes bugged out. "Tell me then, Naruto, what was I feeling?" Proud yet frustrated. Sasuke here was frustrated yet angry. Sakura was eager and horny. Ino was dash. "Enough, Naruto," Iruka said, a tinge of pink in his cheeks. "You will accompany me to Hokage-sama's office right now. Rest of the class is dismissed for the day. Go on. Time is almost up anyway." With a giant cheer, the class ran to the door, but the angry Sakura rushed at Naruto with her fist cocked. Sakura reached Naruto and swung her fist, much to the surprise of the entire class. Naruto ducked calmly, even without looking, causing Sakura to barrel into the desk and yell out in pain. The class was silent. Naruto had dodged that punch even without looking, as if he had eyes in the back of his head. "Ha ha 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 ha." Naruto was laughing, pointing at Sakura, who was crying. The class too broke out in smiles. Even Emo's mouth twitched a bit. Sakura gave Naruto a nasty glare and left sniffling. The class was empty at last, with only Naruto and Iruka in it. "How did you dodge that punch, Naruto?" Iruka asked curiously. "Oh, I could feel that she was angry with me, and her chakra was getting nearer and nearer, and I know exactly how she punches. So it was easy for me to dodge her." Iruka looked impressed and beckoned him to follow to the Hokage's office. Naruto followed easily. God, he felt so much better after the leaf meditation thing. It was like he could feel the chakra of everyone within sight and their feelings to a certain degree. He could feel so many presences and their emotions as he proceeded towards the old man's office. Iruka knocked on the door and the old man's voice asked them to come in.
"Ah, Naruto."
"Iruka, to what do I owe this pleasure?" Naruto, however, closed his eyes and extended his senses as he had done in the leaf exercise. For chakras, one felt like a raging fire, two felt like water, and the last felt like lightning. They all seemed bored yet aware, but the old man's chakra felt huge, like an ocean. He opened his eyes and looked at the old man in awe. "Old man, I never knew you were so strong. The Hokage shot Irika a questioning look. Ah, Hokage-sama, that is what I am here to talk about. It seems Naruto here has uncovered a very strong sensory ability during the leaf focus exercise. He could feel even the emotions of the people in the room along with Chakra. The Hokage looked astonished at Naruto. Well, Naruto, what am I feeling? Proud, surprised, and anxious? Can you feel anything or anyone else, Naruto? Yeah, I can feel for other chakras in this room. One feels like fire, two like water, and the last like lightning, and they all seem bored but alert. Sarutobi looked stunned, as did Irika. It seems you can sense natures as well, Naruto. This is an unexpected development. We need to test out the limits of this ability of yours. Close your eyes. Naruto closed his eyes. Now focus like you did in the leaf exercise. Keep your mind calm and try to imagine yourself as the leaf. You are floating on the wind, calmly. No anger, no emotions, just. Naruto followed the instructions of the old man diligently. The Hokage's voice was hypnotic and calmed down his semi-agitated mind. He was the leaf. Bright blue chakra exploded around Naruto. He could sense so many people. The feelings were so intense that he tuned them out. There were so many chakras in Konoha, but none were as strong as the old man, but a few came close. Now, Naruto, can you tell me what the chakra of the people near the North Gate feel like? Naruto could visualize Konoha in his mind's eye. Casting his senses in the north direction, he glimpsed the gate. There were two chakras there. They were incredibly bored, and one felt like water and the other like fire. Opening his eyes, he said as much to the fire shadow. The old man nodded slowly. This is a very rare ability you have there, Naruto. It is called the sensory ability, and you seem to have an extremely strong one. To sense even natures and emotions. You are the second person I have seen could do that. Naruto looked excited. Who was the first old man? Tell me. Tell me. Sarutobi chuckled. It was my first sensei, Senju Hashirama. You know him as the Shodai Hokage. He had a special chakra that allowed him to sense like you do. At this, Sarutobi's eyes narrowed in thought. There was no reason for Naruto to have sensory abilities. True, Minato had the sensory abilities of the second, but that was not even close to the versatility of Naruto's ability. Naruto had both range and sense. The botched ceiling of the fox came to his mind. Sighing, he reached for one of the many scrolls stored in his desk. Listen carefully, Naruto. The ability you have should not go untrained. It can be a major asset for the village to have a sensor of your caliber. So to further your ability, I am giving you this scroll. It is a documentation of sensory skills penned by Hashirama-sensei himself. Here you might find ways of training your ability. Treat this carefully and keep it secret. Flabbergasted, Naruto received the scroll with reverence. A scroll written with the first Hokage's own hands. Thank you, old man. I will become the best censor in Konoha. Believe it, Naruto said excitedly. I know you will, Naruto. Now run along. Naruto walked out of the building, cradling the scroll to his chest closely. Naruto's apartment. Naruto unfurled the scroll carefully, restraining his excitement. His excitement dropped down considerably when he saw only a small paragraph on the scroll. Calm your mind, focus upon nature. Extend the sense inward, not outward. Enter your subconscious and face yourself. To be one with nature is to be one with yourself. The balance of yin and yang is the balance of chakra in nature. This is called harmony. What did this even mean? Naruto was getting very frustrated with the cryptic scroll. He decided to continue with what the Sandaime had taught him. Closing his eyes, he calmed himself as he did before. Again, he could feel the chakras around him. There were two chakras near his apartment that were large and felt like fire, both of them. Shelving his anger at being watched, he continued with his sensory exercises. It was the same as before. What was he doing wrong? Extend the sense inward, not outward. He tried to sense his own chakra and was able to do so faintly. He tried even more and he was astonished. There seemed to be 3 chakras flowing in his body. One felt like pure malice, all anger and hate. The second chakra felt familiar and comfortable like it was truly his own. But the third chakra felt soothing but so strong, so potent, felt like the opposite of the first. If anything, it felt like leaves, earth, and trees. He could feel this very chakra all around him, and it was steadily flowing into his body. The second familiar chakra was fading fast and was being replaced by the soothing strong chakra. He delved deeper into his very nature and blacked out. Drip, drip, drip. Naruto woke up in what seemed to be a sewer with bad lighting and water up to his knees. He groggily followed the passage, which opened to a cell with bars so high and large that its end was not visible. The doors of the cell were secured by a single piece of paper with seal written on it. He peered behind the cell, curiously feeling unfathomable amounts of chakra behind it. It felt malicious and full of hatred beyond human comprehension. His mind almost shut down in response. "Hello?" he called out weakly. What seemed to be a mass of darkness opened 2 glowing red eyes and stared at him. A deafening roar came out of the darkness, causing Naruto to backpedal frantically and fall on his ass. The glowing red eyes focused upon his own. "Ha ha ha, that was funny. Really, it was. The look on your face. You looked like a kid who had the stuffing scared out of him." The darkness behind the cell came to light, revealing a sniggering giant fox. Naruto stared dumbfounded at this surreal sight. Then something else registered in his mind. The fox had 9 tails. "QB!" he yelled, pointing at the fox accusingly. The fox stopped his sniggering and inspected the human child in front of him. "Yeah, that's me, kid. I knew you were way smarter than you let on. No need to freak out. By the look on your face, I guess you have lots of questions. To eliminate the more obvious ones, we are currently in your mind. When you tried to trace my chakra, you ended up here. And yes, the angry chakra is mine. And no, the soothing chakra has nothing to do with me, though it is soothing." Naruto looked at the weird self-proclaimed QB in front of him and sweat dropped. "Aren't you supposed to be an evil fox that threatens people and kills them for fun? And how are you in my mind?" QB looked amused. "Fine, let us begin at that point. Listen carefully, kid. Before I ended up in your cracked sewer of a mind, I was pretty normal, all right. No random rampages, though those are rather fun. I have near infinite chakra, but do you think I keep blowing things up forever? That is just hilarious." Naruto had to give the fox that point. "But why are you in my mind?" he asked. "I was put in a genjutsu by a man I would gladly kill but sadly cannot. This genjutsu awoke my bloodlust and allowed him to direct my anger towards the village. I went on a rampage killing many ninja, before the Yondaime Hokage confronted me and sealed me up in a newborn baby. You." Naruto was crushed. He could hardly think from the grief that filled his heart. His beloved 4th Hokage was the one that condemned him to a life full of misery and pain. Rage filled his heart as he thought of the numerous beatings, tortures, and neglect he had received from the villagers. Why was it him? Why? He had reasons, kid, and I will tell you those reasons if you will do something for me." Naruto looked at the QB with grief-filled eyes. "What do you want?" "Look around this place. Can you see the cracks everywhere?" Naruto could indeed see the cracks, spider webbing everywhere. The place looked like it was about to fall apart, but still held firm. The cracks seemed to radiate the same soothing chakra he had felt. "Yes, I can see it." "Good. Let me explain to you what seals are briefly. Seals are constructs that allow extreme manipulation and programming of chakra. They are expressions of the mind. Your Yondaime sealed me in with an extremely powerful one. But something went wrong with the sealing, which is all I can remember. The cracks in this place indicate that there exists another aspect beneath this layer of the seal. Now, all you have to do is continue to try and sense only the nature chakra flowing through your body. Got that? Do that, and I will be able to see just what it is that lies beneath this layer that allows me to get calm so fast. Naruto easily deduced that the calming potent chakra flowing through him was the nature chakra Kyuubi spoke of. His agitated mind sought the refuge of that chakra automatically. He focused upon the nature chakra and it alone. His mind calmed down fast and he could feel it building in his body. It was dominating the other two chakras. He dimly got the sensation that the Kyuubi was smiling peacefully. Shaking off his thoughts at such weirdness, he focused even more. The enormous chakra of the Kyuubi was sidelined till he could barely feel it, and the familiar chakra, which was probably his own, was fading away. With a final rush, all of his own chakra was replaced by the nature chakra. He could feel his body adapting to the new chakra, the network enormously changing to accommodate its new fluid. Wondrously, he felt little pain. It was as if his already formidable resilience and healing were magnified tenfold by the nature chakra. He felt complete. If he thought he could sense well before, it was nothing compared to what he could do now. He could sense everything. It was more reliable than his eyes, ears, and smell. He could sense chakra and emotions to an acute level. Hell, he could even sense the wind caressing his body, the blissful moisture in the air, and even the earth for miles and miles and all those connected to it. He opened his eyes and saw the smiling Kyuubi in its cell. His mind, as the Kyuubi put it, was now almost covered with cracks, and the water in the sewer was rushing chaotically in a rage. He had never felt this calm or strong before. His mind felt so clear and his thoughts so fluid. Now what, Kyuubi? The Kyuubi smiled beatifically. Kid, what you have done, only one person has ever done in history. Continue what you did before. Turn your senses inward, go on. Naruto determinedly turned his sense right back inward. Something was just beyond his reach. Just there. He began reaching for it. Unknown to him, the walls of his mindscape were close to bursting, but the Kyuubi's cell was intact. Naruto was in ecstasy. He had never felt this good before. So powerful, so strong. The forests around Konoha seemed alive. Each and every tree in Konoha seemed greener and glossier all of a sudden. It was almost as if nature itself was heralding a hitherto unseen event. Something sacred. Nature chakra filled Naruto's mind and body to the brim. He took in more and more. He could feel the imperfections of his body correcting themselves. His ramen-induced malnutrition was being erased completely. His pale and sickly skin was regaining its color. His pale yellow-colored hair was becoming burning gold in color. He could not even remember who he was in the torrent of potent nature chakra. Hashirama. The name floated in his head. He latched on to the name, trying to regain his identity. The chakra was ecstasy so strong that it was painful. Hashirama. There was that name again. It meant something. What did it mean? He opened his eyes and could see the Kyuubi clearly. It seemed to be shocked in a foxy sort of way. Suddenly the fox faded out of sight and visions assaulted his mind. So clear that he could say he lived them. Thousands upon thousands of them. An entire lifetime. Visions of wars and peace made by him. Of treaties and trust created by him. Of love and betrayal experienced by him. They all assaulted him with the force of a battering ram. He was reeling. But through it all, there was a sense of unfathomable power, indomitable will and bottomless compassion and love. A name. He needed a name. Who was he? The memories continued through childhood, youth, and up to a battle with his dearest friend. Battles fought and lost. Comrades gone and saved. These were too vivid and the feelings too personal to be just visions. They were memories. He could not stand it anymore. It was too much. He was dimly aware of himself screaming at the top of his voice, and he could sense inconceivable amounts of chakra being released by him. Naruto. He was Naruto. Names were beginning to associate themselves to the memories he had just experienced. Sarutobi Hiruzen. Uchiha Izuna. Mitokado Hamura. Shimura Danzo. Senju Toka. Tsunade. Nawaki. Senju Tobarama. Uchiha Madara. The names went on and on, with the memories associating themselves again with names and integrating themselves into his persona firmly. He had now lived two lives: a short life of a child called Naruto, and the illustrious life of a man, Noah legend. Senju Hashirama. He was both Senju Hashirama and Uzumaki Naruto. His personalities were merging, both old and new. He suddenly gave out, wanting to escape the strain of two lives lived. He blissfully slipped into slumber. But Naruto's unconscious mind was working overtime. His chakra network was being modified to suit the needs of the legendary chakra of the Shodai. His muscles were being rebuilt by the nature chakra from their near-atrophied state to something much stronger. But his mind was undergoing the greatest change, incorporating the extremely massive knowledge and experience of Hashirama into itself. Any saplings planted in Konoha suddenly burst into trees. Flowers bloomed everywhere in Konoha's forests as if it were springtime. Something wonderful was being returned to the world. The next day, the alarm clock blared hard, causing Naruto to wake up abruptly and bring down his fist hard on the damn thing. Crash! The clock and the table on which it was seated broke into pieces, splinters flying everywhere. The noise caused Naruto to wake up with a rush. He stared blearily at his wall clock, noting that he had around 10 minutes to get to the academy. His return to consciousness brought to attention the unmasking of his previous life. He knew somehow that it was no transfer of memories or skills, no experiment gone right or wrong. It was him remembering his previous life. He was both Hashirama and Naruto. He needed to think on this more. A crisis of identity never did good to anyone. He glanced at his table. Mokutan. Platform of wood. Instantaneously, trees sprouted from the floor and reshaped themselves into a rough approximation of a table. He grimaced. It seemed that he did not have the control and muscle memory he had in his previous life. Those had to be reintegrated still. Evidently, the lack of chakra control was an aspect of his life as Naruto. Shrugging off his pondering, he put on his orange jumpsuit and rushed to the academy. He could think more as he slept at class. Really, his reputation as a slacker did help sometimes. Running full pelt, he skidded in front of the class doors. "Sorry I'm late, Irika-sensei," he said calmly. The class, including Irika, seemed stunned at Naruto's new look. Though he still wore his horrible orange jumpsuit, he looked cool. His golden hair seemed to have grown to shoulder length. His body seemed extremely toned and solid, but what caught them all were his eyes. The beautiful cerulean blue was gone, replaced by deep forest green eyes. The color, though striking, was not important. It was the look in them that pierced his classmates and sensei, the look of compassion and love, shrewdness and joviality, most of all an agelessness and power that transcended human comprehension. Naruto had changed drastically. "Is there a problem?" Naruto asked.
No, no.
"Go to your seat, Naruto." Naruto nodded and coolly sat in his seat. Then he laid his head on the bench and started snoring softly as Irika continued his lecture. The class snickered its derision of the dead last and went back to normal. Even Irika seemed relieved by Naruto's return to normalcy and continued his lecture. Meanwhile, Naruto had descended down into his mindscape. And he was greeted by an unexpected sight. Instead of a dank sewer half waterlogged, there was an endless forest full of huge trees and exotic flowers. It was nature at its pinnacle. Naruto smiled. As expected, his mindscape had changed to accommodate him as Hashirama. Now to search for the Kyuubi. Putting his acute sensory capabilities to the test, he followed the trail of Kyuubi chakra through his mindscape. The great Kyuubi no Kitsune was now in a different kind of prison. Instead of a dungeon of darkness, he was imprisoned in an imitation of Hashirama's technique. A massive wooden cage with seal on its doors. It seemed that the Shiki Fuin was still secure. The Kyuubi opened its eyes and looked at Naruto. It seemed a lot calmer. In fact, Naruto could sense no malice in its chakra. In fact, it seemed a lot like his own Mokutan chakra. "Greetings, Naruto? Or should I say Hashirama?" Hello, Kurama. Yeah, I used to be Hashirama in my previous life. I am both, actually. I am for a name. I am Naruto as I wish to be defined by this life alone. I acknowledge myself as Hashirama, but he is of the past. I must look to the future. Anyway, I know next to nothing after the world as it is now. So tell me, Kurama, what happened to Mito? Kurama sighed. I was sealed in Mito for a long time. Later I was transferred to another Uzumaki girl, Kushina. Your mother in this life. Your father is Namikaze Minato, Yandame Hokage. Before your birth, I was brought forcibly out of the seal and forced to destroy Konoha. Naruto sighed Sharingan. It was always a troublesome jujitsu. Do you have an idea who it was? He claimed to be Madara. He fought the fourth Hokage and lost. He had some good space-time ninjutsu. It cannot be Madara. I killed him during our final battle. It is obviously an imitator. Something else is afoot in the world. I need to find out what. But first, I need to resurrect the true Konoha. Sarutobi has grown complacent. Yeah, do what you want. Anyway, do you think you could free me from this seal? I am sure you could suppress me anyway, and I wouldn't mind having at least an illusion of freedom. Naruto scratched his head. No can do. I have only a small fraction of the chakra I had when I died and my control is atrocious. I had perfect control of my chakra and smooth flow. I can gain back my old control and regain a considerable amount of my old chakra capacity in a matter of months. It is only an issue of reconciling my old self with this self. So you'll have to wait a bit. Fine. Anyway, it's good to see you back, Hashirama. Your brat self was really annoying. Naruto grinned. I suppose. It is quite close to how I was as a child in my life as Hashirama. It has been surprisingly easy to get adjusted to this new development. Naruto waved goodbye to Kurama and became conscious in the real world once more. Raising his head, he looked at his classmates. Children, they were just children in a horrifying world. Konoha had fallen far. He had to help these children become shinobi fast or they would die within months of becoming genin. The reformation of Konoha would start with this generation. His mistreatment for being Jinchuriki was evidence to Konoha's decline from what it used to be during his day. Naruto, are you ready to talk about the Shodai Hokage? Naruto smiled happily and walked down to the stage. It is not often one gets a chance to talk of oneself in such glorious terms. The Shodai Hokage was Senju Hashirama. He was called the strongest Hokage and shinobi of his time, and no one has ever surpassed him. He is called God of Shinobi due to his extreme power and intelligence. His closest family was Senju Tobirama, his little brother, who went on to become the Naidame Hokage. Half an hour later, and he defeated Uchiha Madara at the Valley of End. Naruto finished smugly. The class was staring at Naruto stupefied. When did the dobe suddenly know the life of the first Hokage so intimately? What happened to the hyperactive loser who was jumping around like a moron proclaiming he would be Hokage? Shikamaru stared at Naruto contemplatively. This was too much of a change for just one day. Naruto was no longer a loser, but he exuded a calm air of surety. His bearing was easygoing and almost noble. Troublesome. Hinata stared at her longtime crush. He seemed a new and deep person. Hyuga were trained to observe and conclude from a very young age, and the difference was apparent to the heiress. Activating her jujitsu, she looked at Naruto. And she was mesmerized. What used to be chaotic blue chakra was now gone. Instead, Naruto seemed to be shining bright with what seemed to be a pure silver chakra running through his network smoothly like the currents of a free-flowing river. Naruto, though, was smiling contentedly in his head. The children were given a small overview of his life and they would remember it. That reminded him. He had to find out what happened to his clan. There were no Senju children in the classroom. So much to do. Well, he had to lay low until he was a genin. Then he would have access to shinobi resources and he could gather information. Till then he would perfect his chakra control and that would help his instinctive healing as well. Ignoring the lectures of Irika, He focused once more upon his life as Hashirama, ordering and remembering with increasing clarity. He would continue to remember and regain as time went by and he trained. Time skip, Genin exam day. Naruto yawned as he saw Irika calling for students to administer their qualifying exams. He sighed as he thought of the falling standards at Konoha. In the months since his awakening, Naruto had fully integrated the memories of his past life. He was not Hashirama or Naruto alone, but both. His chakra control had skyrocketed and it was almost the level it had been near his death. Absolute perfection. He had not yet tried his Mokutan Jutsu on a large scale, but he could feel that it would be easy as before. His chakra capacity was about 1/10 his original capacity and growing rapidly, and his affinity to Doton and Suiton was as strong as ever. Surprisingly, he had sensed in himself a futon affinity but not trained in it. It would look less suspicious anyway when he would have to actually work for something. His conversations with Kurama were most enlightening. He learned a lot of his mother, Uzumaki Kushina, and her life. Evidently she was quite the Kenjutsu and Suiton user, strong enough to rival the Yondaime. She also taught the Yondaime the art of Fuinjutsu. Her fate was still not clear to him. Kurama said she was still alive at the end of the ceiling, which meant she could have abandoned him. Not that he had any need for a parental figure. He had outgrown that in a different lifetime. Sighing, he put away any thoughts of Uzumaki Kushina. He had studied the books of history to catch up on what was happening in the shinobi world since his death. Apparently, the Uchiha were all slaughtered by their own prodigy Itachi. Itachi had then gone on to torture his brother mentally before sparing him. He certainly sympathized with the poor Uchiha child and held no ill will towards him for his broody and ill-tempered nature. He needed to help the Uchiha child most of all, so he remained a dead last so he could be placed on that team. Uzumaki Naruto Mizuki called. Naruto always knew there was something about Mizuki that set him on edge. After his awakening it became even more apparent as he could sense the Chunin's hostile intent from about a mile away. He pushed away thoughts of traitorous ninja and went to his teachers. He had a test to clear. He faced Irika. "All right, Naruto. Perform the Bunshin, Henge and Kawarimi in that order, and you will pass." Naruto smiled. He performed the Bunshin all right. He did the perverted Oiroke no Jutsu version of Henge that amused him to no end. After waking up from a nosebleed that knocked him out, Irika cajoled him into performing a perfect Henge, which he did, transforming himself to Hashirama. He then did a proper Kawarimi and walked out with a Konoha Hitaiate. After many skeptical responses from the children at the fact that he had actually passed and congratulations from Hinata, he settled down in front of the academy. Closing his eyes, he extended his sensory abilities all over Konoha. His sensing range was greater than in his previous life, and he could sense 20 kilometers in every direction. He could tell the chakra natures of the ninja, their emotions, their capacity, and he could even visualize the world in great detail for 3 kilometers in all directions. It was like a Byakugan without the ability to see Tenketsu. He spread his calming chakra all over the village, feeling the effects on the village. His village. He would always be here to protect the village he had founded. He could sense an incoming chakra, which had a Doton nature. The emotions were hostile, and upon deeper sensing, he concluded it was Mizuki. "Naruto?" came Mizuki's voice. "Mizuki-sensei, is there a problem?" Naruto asked.
No.
"I come here with an extra test for you, which upon passing you will be made the Rookie of the Year. Smooth, real smooth. I have deceived and destroyed entire armies during war. My power literally rearranged the map of Konoha. You think to fool me with such pathetic excuses?" Naruto thought. He would go along with this and see what Mizuki was planning. He could clearly sense the Chunin's urgency and greed. "What is this test, Mizuki-sensei?" "All you have to do is sneak into the Hokage's tower and steal the scroll of seals. Get the scroll back to me and I will put it where it belongs. So what do you say, will you take the test?" "Yes." When he took down Mizuki, he would have to keep the power he exhibited down to a genin level. It would not do for the world to know that Senju Hashirama was amongst them too early. He suppressed his chakra to his former near-Kage level quantity and shot off towards the tower. He could sense Sarutobi in his office. He grinned evilly. He knew just what would take care of the old pervert. He faced the Hokage as soon as he sneaked into his office. "Naruto, what are you doing here?"
Oiroke no jutsu.
Naruto yelled, transforming into a scantily clad, adorable girl. The Hokage flew back with a nosebleed. He hastily grabbed the scroll of sealing that was sticking out from the bunch of scrolls arranged on a rack and made a run for it. He could clearly sense the Hokage's puzzlement and a flare of his chakra. He could feel Sarutobi's chakra surround him, and he could trace it back to the office. He concluded that he was being watched. Anyway, he happily opened the scroll of sealing and scanned the jutsu inside. All were familiar to him. Various elemental techniques, Shunshin and Kage Shuriken no Jutsu. He was particularly intrigued by the Kage Bunshin technique. It seemed a good substitute for his would clone, even if a little inferior. He could comprehend the Kenjutsu fast enough. He was Senju Hashirama after all. Suddenly he could feel a chakra approaching him. "Arika." He calmly waited for the man to approach him. "Naruto, what are you doing with that scroll?" "Mizuki-sensei asked me to get this scroll for the rookie position. I passed. Isn't that great, Irika-sensei?" Naruto exclaimed, jumping up and down childishly. "Yes, that's great, Naruto. Now give me the scroll." Mizuki's voice joined the unfolding drama. "Don't, Naruto. He is a traitor trying to use you." "Quiet, Irika. Naruto, do you know why you are so hated in this village?" "Yes, I do," Naruto deadpanned. Mizuki and Irika were astonished. "What?" This was also echoed by the Sandaime, who was spying on Naruto. Using Mizuki's surprise as an opening, Naruto performed seals at a genin speed.
Sunshin no jutsu.
Naruto appeared behind Mizuki and placed his first two fingers on the chakra junction on Mizuki's neck. Before he could react, Naruto pumped a minute amount of his chakra into Mizuki, rendering him unconscious. He turned to Irika. "How was that, Irika-sensei?" Irika just stared at him before saying proudly, "You are a true genin and fine shinobi of the leaf, Naruto." Naruto just smiled. So did the Hokage. "You hide many things, Naruto. You will go far. So far that even I cannot imagine it. Regards, Carl Din." Chapter 2. The Sandaime Hokage looked through his all-seeing crystal ball, gazing contemplatively at the most intriguing ninja in the village at the moment, Naruto. The boy was an enigma wrapped in a mystery, as seen from his effortless incapacitation of the traitor Mizuki. He had displayed the Shunshin no Jutsu with a rare ease. Irika was amazed that he could even perform the technique, but Hiruzen knew better. Naruto had performed the seals with too much ease and too less concentration showing on his face. It was as if the technique was second nature to him. And how did he know to strike vital points? True, the theory was explained in the academy, but students were not expected to know it. The mastery that Naruto had displayed was interesting. What Naruto had done could be done only by an experienced medic nin, a Hyuga or a ninja with considerable battle experience, none of which applied to Naruto. "The Jounin are here, Hokage-sama," announced his secretary. "Send them in," said Hiruzen. The Jounin filed in quietly. Asuma, Kurenai, Aoba, Kakashi, and other Jounin here for their team assignments stood at attention waiting for him to speak. Well, Kakashi not so much. The pervert, as usual, was reading his beloved Ika series. The Sandaime looked at the book closely and his eyes grew round. A limited series edition of Ika Violence. This was pure gold. He had to get this meeting over with as soon as possible and get that book from Kakashi. He grinned his closet pervert grin at the prospect. Kurenai coughed, noticing Kakashi reading the damn book and the Sandaime trying really hard to get a look at the book without being obvious about it. Hokage-sama, don't we have team assignments to do?" she asked primly. Hiruzen cleared his throat, looking disappointed. Yes, we do. Now then, these are the teams assigned. Oba will get Team 1 consisting of. He went on until. Hatake Kakashi will get Team 7 consisting of Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura and Uzumaki Naruto. Kakashi looked up mildly interested, nodded and went back to his reading. Hiruzen could understand that. Team 8 will be Hyuga Hinata, Inuzuka Kiba and Aburame Shino under Yuhi Kurenai. The beautiful Kurenai nodded. Team 9 is still in circulation. Therefore, Team 10 will be Nara Shikamaru, Akimichi Chuji and Yamanaka Ino under Sarutobi Asuma. Asuma nodded, pleased at the fact that the second-generation Ino Shikacho trio was under him. Hiruzen looked at them all. This completes the team assignments for this year's Genin. You will have today to observe your assigned Genin and will have to begin operation from tomorrow. Good luck to you all. The Jounin nodded solemnly and turned to leave. Kakashi, stay back. We have some important matters to discuss, Hiruzen ordered, looking intently at the treasure trove in Kakashi's hands. Kurenai looked at the two of them disgustedly before exiting. Next day at the academy. Naruto waited patiently for his sensei Hatake Kakashi to make his appearance. He was assigned to Team 7 along with Sasuke and Sakura. This would be an excellent opportunity for him to test the strength of the current Jounin of the village. He had to take care not to let loose though. He had a tendency to do that in a good fight. He knew well that he had Hiruzen's eye on him even more than usual from his display with Mizuki. The secret of his true identity could not be given out lightly, even to his former student. He would have to probe Hiruzen closely and judge how much his student had changed over the years. Kakashi was already running late by 2 hours, and the irritation from this fact was showing on the faces of both his teammates. Sasuke looked like a thundercloud. Naruto observed him closely and suppressed a smile. The kid looked exactly like Tobirama did when he was that age. Same stoic demeanor, same lack of speech and irritation with fangirls. The only thing difference was a sense of arrogance Sasuke had picked up along the way. Oh well, he could change that. After all, he had mentored far more stubborn kids and turned them into great ninja. Hiruzen himself was a case in point. The boy was obviously slightly unstable. The mental torture he had purportedly suffered could be an effect of Tsukuyomi, and that would be bad. The whole Uchiha affair felt wrong to him. Clan prodigies don't usually go nuts and slaughter their clan at the drop of a hat. Uchiha Itachi obviously had a good reason for doing what he did, and he had also incited Sasuke's hatred for a reason. Sasuke, like the impressionable child, had fallen neck deep into hatred and vengeance. The child was suffering. The Uchiha mess bore more investigation. He still had little knowledge of what happened after he was gone. Hearsay, books and rumors were not real sources of knowledge as they were always fabricated. He would know, as he had done the fabricating himself when he was Hokage. What unnerved him was that the Senju clan had just disappeared, and the only known descendant was Tsunade. He smiled again as he thought of his granddaughter. He had spoiled her so much when she was little. It made him proud when he found out that Tsunade had made such a name for herself in the shinobi world. His little girl had grown so much. His thoughts were interrupted as the door opened and a tall, lean man with gravity-defying spiky white hair walked in. Opening his senses, he began to investigate the chakra of Hatake Kakashi. Team 7. You are late, Sakura yelled.
Hi Kakashi, smilingly.
My first impression of you are all boring. Meet me on the roof. He disappeared with a leaf shunshin. Naruto too disappeared with a shunshin, stunning his teammates. On the roof. Naruto stared at Kakashi as he appeared on the roof with his jutsu. The Jounin hardly looked surprised, which meant that he was informed of what little capability he had shown. He was intensely reading an orange-colored book, but Naruto could see that he was very aware of his surroundings and was watching his student closely. He continued sensing Kakashi's chakra. The Jounin had about as much chakra as he did before his awakening, which was good. He could sense 3 natures in the man's chakra: Raitun, Doton, and Suetun. Not bad. And he could sense something all too familiar about his covered eye. Sharingan. He sensed the chakra surrounding the eye carefully. The chakra emanating from the eye was far more sinister than a normal Sharingan. Manjikyu Sharingan. Either his sensei was a power-hungry maniac, or he had experienced intense loss. The latter option seemed more plausible, as he was a shinobi under Hiruzen. Also, his emotions were all over the place.
Surprise, regret, pride.
Why would the man feel pride? This man was intriguing. He would have to find out more about him. His musings were interrupted when Sakura and Sasuke joined them. Kakashi put down the book and began speaking. Good, you are here. Took you long enough. Anyway, start introducing yourselves. You, Pinky, start. Scowling at being christened Pinky, Sakura replied. Why don't you go first and give us an example, sensei? Kakashi sighed. Fine. My name is Hatake Kakashi. I have many likes. Dislikes are too many to name. My dream is none of your business. I have many hobbies. He finished and stared expectantly at Sakura. Naruto's sweat dropped. He had just gotten the name of the man. My name is Haruno Sakura. I like. She blushed and stared at Sasuke. I dislike Naruto. Naruto shook his head. Children. My hobbies are. She glanced at Sasuke again. My dream for the future is. A final glance at Sasuke. Kakashi sighed once more. You next, Blondie. Naruto stared at Kakashi and began his own introduction. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I like forests and gardening. I dislike traitors and power-hungry maniacs. My dream for the future is to increase Konoha's power and prestige as its Hokage. My hobbies are practicing my jutsu and reading research texts on the nature of chakra. Kakashi stared at him. There was much more to Naruto than those academy reports said. Those forest green eyes of his were too unnerving. They were ageless and compassionate, and the boy himself radiated unbridled power. Kakashi wasn't a jounin for nothing. He knew Naruto was suppressing his chakra to seem like it was at its previous levels. He had observed the boy with his Sharingan the previous day and found that his chakra network was extremely superior, even more so than Minato-sensei. He was obviously letting only a fraction of his true strength show, and it alarmed Kakashi that what chakra he allowed to manifest was about as much as the Sandaime. There was the matter of his chakra itself. It was pure shining silver, instead of the usual bright blue. The Kyuubi chakra was nowhere to be found in his network. It was as if he was not a Jinchuriki. He had to watch out for his sensei's son. You go next, Broody. Sasuke snorted. My name is Uchiha Sasuke. I like nothing and hate everything. My dream, no, my ambition is to kill a certain man and restore my clan. Kakashi stared at them a moment longer. All right, the 3 of you are interesting and that is good. Meet me tomorrow at Training Ground 7 at 6 a.m. for the real Genin test. What? Sakura yelled. Naruto sighed. The girl did not know the meaning of calm speech. The exam you took at the academy was merely a filter. This is the real survival test, and I warn you, the pass rate is not very encouraging. Oh, and do not eat any breakfast. You don't want to puke all over the ground, do you? Kakashi waved at them and disappeared. Naruto turned to his teammates. Sasuke, Sakura, do you want to get some ramen and get to know each other better? Sasuke snorted a no and turned away. Sakura didn't even look at Naruto and ran after Sasuke. Children these days, Naruto thought disappointedly. The next day, Training Ground 7. Naruto looked at his teammates. Sasuke was here early and was practicing the routines of the Uchiha Taijutsu style. Sakura was watching him devotedly, a smile of bliss on her face. He could see several holes in Sasuke's style. If he tried to correct the boy, he would obviously be derided. Uchiha respected power. So he would make his first bonds by showing the Uchiha child a little of his power. Naruto walked a little distance from where Sasuke was practicing his taijutsu and settled into the opening stance of the Senju taijutsu style he had customized to suit his sensory capabilities. As the Shodai Hokage, he was feared for his taijutsu as well, but he rarely had to use it outside training. His enemies usually ran instead of confronting him. The last good taijutsu fight he had was with his rival Madara. Even his taijutsu fights with Madara were highly destructive. Casting off thoughts of Madara, he began flowing through the stances of the nature style as he had named it. It emphasized speed, grace, and power. Counterattacks were made by sensing the opponent's approach and intentions. Sasuke and Sakura had stopped their activities and began watching Naruto. They were stunned. The so-called dead last flew through the stances of a taijutsu style unknown with increasing speed. He struck gracefully at an imaginary opponent with his palm and pivoted smoothly to kick another phantom in the face. His speed too was increasing, he seemed like a blur to them almost. Naruto flared his chakra as he flew through his stances. Bright silver chakra became visible around his gracefully moving form. He was saturating the air with his chakra. The whole area around him started to feel charged with potent chakra. His strikes were becoming faster and faster. Naruto almost laughed in joy. It seemed that the muscle memory and grace he had developed as Hashirama were still as strong as ever. He finished his routine with a graceful palm strike and his chakra flared. Sasuke and Sakura stared wide-eyed. The ground in front of Naruto's extended palm was furrowed in a straight line for about 10 yards, testifying to the power of that final strike. Wherever Naruto had done his graceful practice, the grass was ripped up and torn. Sasuke walked up to Naruto. "How did you do that, Dobe? Who taught you that taijutsu style?" "I created it myself," Naruto shrugged.
Impossible.
"There is no way you can create such a powerful taijutsu." Naruto almost snorted. The child thought what he had done now was powerful. When he had trained as Hashirama and let loose with his nature fist, entire sections of forest were destroyed. He used to repair those sections with Mokuton. "Believe what you wish, Sasuke. Now let us cease our argument. Our sensei is here." Sasuke glared at Naruto and then walked off with Sakura, who was shooting her usual dirty glances at him. Kakashi appeared in the ground and looked at the portion of ground that was ripped up and torn. "What happened here?" he queried. Sakura was so caught up in her thoughts that she had not even berated him for his lateness. "It was Naruto, sensei. He did that when he practiced his taijutsu." Sakura answered him, struggling to hide her awe at what she had seen. "I see," Kakashi said. Inside he was shocked to the core. Another facet of Naruto's concealed power. Not even Gaizguken was so naturally destructive. He needed to be careful if Naruto's taijutsu was this damaging. He held up 2 bells, jingling them. "See these bells? You have to get them from me in another 1.25 hours. This is your genin test. The one who gets no bell will be back at the academy. Come at me with the intent to kill. Clear?" Naruto was amused. He was getting tested by the very test he had created. He could almost see little Hiruzen and his team doing this very test back in the day. It seemed tradition had been handed down the line. Sasuke and Sakura looked determined. They nodded and ran to hide in the surrounding trees. Naruto also nodded and disappeared. He went to hide in another section of the forest and hid his presence. The forest was his territory, after all. Extending his senses, he could feel Sasuke near the fringe of the forest, obviously watching Kakashi. Sakura was a little distance away from him, and she felt trepidation and fright. Sasuke was anxious and excited. Oh well, he would wait for Kakashi to finish off his teammates before he went in himself. Unless they got the concept of teamwork before getting annihilated, which was unlikely. He watched as Kakashi materialized behind Sakura and put her in a genjutsu which knocked her out. He would wait. Kakashi went back to the clearing and whipped out his orange book and started reading. This was puzzling to the veteran jounin. According to all reports, Naruto should have been the one to attack him head-on, but judging by what he saw of Naruto, he should have expected the unexpected from the blonde. Kakashi abruptly turned and blocked a kick from Sasuke. The boy kicked hard for a genin. They engaged in a reasonably fast-paced taijutsu match. Sasuke used the typical Uchiha taijutsu, which was rather ineffective without the Sharingan. He could have knocked the kid out within an instant, but he pushed him to innovate and get unpredictable. But it was in vain. The kid had no adaptability or creativity. Getting bored, he knocked away the Uchiha with a rather gentle kick. Sasuke looked angered that he was cast away so easily. "I am different from the others," he said to Kakashi with gritted teeth. "I am sure you are." Kakashi could sense a buildup of chakra in the boy, and he recognized the hand seals that were used. Not bad, the boy had learned some good stuff. He pocketed his book.
Katon. Gokakyu no Jutsu.
Sasuke had spit out a medium-sized fireball at Kakashi, who just disappeared. The fireball left a small crater where he had stood. Sasuke looked around frantically for his missing sensei. Before he knew it, he was buried underground with just his head sticking out. "Doton. Shinjuzanshu no Jutsu," Kakashi said calmly. The boy was good, but he had missed the point of the test. He just had to wait for Naruto. It was too bad this team would fail. Naruto was deep in thought as he saw Kakashi dispatch Sasuke with ease. The boy was good for his age, and with some good molding he would be a powerful shinobi. It was time for him to see just what made Jounin in Konoha these days. It seemed that he would have to show a little more of what he was capable of today. Performing a single-handed shunshin, he appeared in front of Kakashi. "Oh, so you have appeared. You may have improved a bit, but what makes you think you can defeat a Jounin single-handedly?" Naruto smiled. "Stuff it, Kakashi-sensei. I know you want us to work as a team, but you must understand that there is a flaw in this test." Kakashi's eyes widened considerably and then narrowed at him. "It seems you have understood. But what flaw are you talking about?" Teamwork is developed through bonds of experiences, and cannot be expected to bloom from nothing, and that too among three people who don't even know each other. But anyway, I will get the bells and we will pass. Kakashi narrowed his eyes once more. "You overestimate yourself, Naruto." Naruto gathered and flared enough chakra to match Kakashi, showing a faint silver aura around his body. He held up the half-ram seal and disappeared. Kakashi was astonished at the kid's mastery of the shunshin technique. He barely had time to think as Naruto appeared behind him and aimed a kick at his head. Underestimating Naruto, he did something foolish. He blocked the kick and was sent crashing into the trees 100 yards away for his trouble. Sasuke stared wide-eyed at the power exhibited by Naruto. What had happened to the dobe? Naruto extended his senses and felt Kakashi behind him. "You substituted with a shadow clone before you hit the trees, didn't you?" Naruto asked, pleased. Kakashi nodded and pocketed his book again. The kid had hit as hard as Guy with his weights off. He was truly something else. Naruto disappeared with another shunshin and attacked Kakashi with a palm, and the duo engaged in a fierce taijutsu battle. Kakashi was good. He blocked each strike of the nature fist and dispersed the chakra concentrated in his strikes with great expertise. Naruto was impressed with the Jounin. "You are good, Kakashi-sensei." "You are too good, Naruto. Where did you learn this style of fighting?" "I created this style. It is mine and mine alone. So why don't you bring out that Sharingan of yours? Let us take it up to the next level." Kakashi was floored. He felt as if he was the one who was being tested. The blonde-haired genin was too good. Way too good. He had landed debilitating strikes and was obviously holding back massively. "Fine, I will." Naruto stared at the mature Sharingan eye of Kakashi. He felt a disturbance in his own chakra and calmed it with a single thought. "My chakra is special, Kakashi. Such simple genjutsu won't work on me." Kakashi stared at him for a moment before disappearing with a blur of speed and attacking him with a high kick. Naruto dodged it, and once again they began their taijutsu battle. Kakashi was able to dodge and counter most of his strikes easily thanks to his Sharingan. Their battle was escalating. To Sasuke, they were simply blurs that created small craters when they touched the ground. His mind was stirring with jealousy and awe. How was this possible? Naruto was going toe-to-toe with a Jounin and was not even breathing hard. Kakashi's prowess at taijutsu was excellent. Naruto grinned happily. He had to do this more often. Slipping under Kakashi's punch, he dealt a moderately powered palm to his chest. Kakashi flew back and landed on the ground with a backflip. He blurred through a series of hand seals. Suetun, Tepidama. Balls of water at high velocity flew at Naruto. He dodged them all with amazing grace and efficiency and gathered a massive amount of chakra that manifested as an extremely bright cloak of silver chakra. They had about 10 minutes to the end of the test. Kakashi too gathered his chakra in preparation to counter the Genin's jutsu. Naruto again did the unexpected and disappeared with an extremely high-powered Shunshin. Before Kakashi could blink, he reappeared next to Sasuke's head, holding up the two bells in his hand. "We pass, Kakashi-sensei." Kakashi stared at him, amazed and proud. True, he himself was also holding back a lot, but Naruto had impressed him. He was truly a prodigy on Uchiha Itachi's level. "You most definitely do, Naruto. All of you pass. Dig out Sasuke and get Sakura, will you?" Naruto dragged out Sasuke from his hole, smiling. Sakura joined them looking ashamed. Kakashi stared at his three students with a serious gaze. "Do you see the headstone over there? The names inscribed there are shinobi of Konoha that were killed in action. My friends' names are also on that stone." The three stared at him solemnly. "Always remember this. Those who break the rules are trash, but those who abandon their friends are worse than trash." Naruto stared at the man, his respect for him rising. That was a worthy creed he lived by, much like his own. He had held his own against Senju Hashirama's taijutsu even at a watered-down level. This was a worthy man and shinobi. "We are Team 7 from now on, and we will begin our missions from tomorrow. Be here at the same time tomorrow for missions." The three nodded. 1 month later. Naruto looked at Hiruzen listlessly as he droned on and on about how missions were assigned and distributed to the various ranking shinobi. The past month had seen Team 7 doing various D-rank missions. This was just a euphemism for pointless chores. The D-rank they had just completed was one of the most annoying missions ever. They had gone to capture one cat called Tora. That damn cat was so elusive. It had mauled him and Sasuke mercilessly. Sakura did not even get her hands on the irritating furball. It had given them great satisfaction to see the thing squished to death by the daimyo's portly wife. Hiruzen had then gone on to assign to them even more D-ranks, and all three of them had put their foot down. Their united yell of vehement denial had made Kakashi proud. His kids were being a team, but Hiruzen was far from understanding as he and Irika were now going on and on about missions and such. Naruto was currently holding a conversation with his tenant. Kurama looked at Naruto from his spacious cage. "Hashirama, do you know why I have brought you here?" The fox asked him seriously.
No.
"Why?" "I know a way you can kill the masked man easily. Listen carefully." Naruto lavished his complete attention on the fox. This could well be what he was after. Kurama had so much experience that he could well be called a baby in comparison. "Just tell him about how you, the great Senju Hashirama, ran all around Konoha to catch a cat. He will die laughing." Naruto had a tick mark on his face as he stared at the fox that was laughing heartily at his expense. Pointed a finger, or rather, a claw at him. "No. Tell him about how a chicken pooped on your head when you were collecting eggs. Ha 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 ha. Enough." He had had enough. Exiting back to the physical world, he stared down Hiruzen. The old fool had stopped his boring lecture and was pinned down by Naruto's forest green eyes. "Enough, old man. Give us a C-rank mission now." Hiruzen looked amused and a bit harried. He looked at Kakashi. Irika was looking at Naruto and mouthing at him frantically to show proper respect to the Hokage. Naruto found this irony bittersweet. He could now understand how little Hiruzen had felt as he and Tobirama had dumped D-rank upon D-rank on him and his team. The tables were now turned. They are ready for a C-rank Hokage-sama. Aren't you, team? Team 7 nodded quickly. They were ready to participate in a war to escape those D-ranks. So yes, they were ready all right. Bring in Tazuna-san, Irika. They all watched as Irika ushered in a middle-aged drunk. So you are the ones who are assigned to protect me. Hick! Tazuna slurred. Sasuke asked the Hokage, "Why is this old drunkard here?" "He is your mission, obviously. You are to protect him as he returns to Nami no Kuni to complete his bridge. Do you accept?" Hiruzen asked. "Hick! Do you think those kids can even protect themselves, let alone protect me?" Tazuna asked drunkenly. Sasuke stared the old drunkard in his eyes, unleashing his killing intent. Tazuna suddenly snapped into sobriety, unable to withstand even that small killing intent. Well, he was a civilian. Now, Sasuke, intimidating the client is not good for business, is it? Sasuke let up reluctantly. He still looked rather pissed. "We can protect you, Tazuna-san. I myself am a jounin and am more than enough for a C-rank mission. Rest assured, you are in safe hands," Kakashi said soothingly. Naruto could sense apprehension and deception floating off the old drunkard. He was obviously lying about the mission parameters. They would need to be on guard. "We leave tomorrow at first light. Meet us at North Gate," Tazuna-san, Kakashi said. The next day, rode to Wave Country. Sasuke stared at Naruto. The Uchiha had spent the previous month researching the Uchiha archives for any record of the kind of taijutsu Naruto used. He had never heard of such a style. Each strike seemed to be infused with chakra and required perfect chakra control. After a month of poring over dusty archives for such a taijutsu, he had come up with vague results. It seemed that the Senju had used something like Naruto's taijutsu in battle. It had evidently made him nigh indomitable in a taijutsu fight as the power of his strikes kept on increasing. He had kept his distance from Naruto after he had fought Kakashi to a stalemate and got the bells. Uchiha respected power, and Naruto had spades of that. The blonde was obviously hiding something major, and he would find out what. Sakura was also thinking of Naruto and his change. Just a few months back, he was the comic relief for the rookies of Konoha. But now he had changed so much that he was not even recognizable. He used to be more of a little shrimp who wore bright orange and shouted about how he would be the Hokage. But now he was different. He still retained his bright personality, but he seemed wise and compassionate. Oh, and powerful. Untrained though she was, the aura of strength that surrounded Naruto of late did not go unnoticed by her, or by anyone else. The rest of the rookies had asked Sakura just what had happened to the prank-loving dobe. She had no answers for them. But she did know that Naruto was far beyond the reach of any mere genin. This realization had sobered her up. She had then resolved to actually train and stop holding Naruto and Sasuke back. She refused to be the weak link for Team 7. This did not go unappreciated by Naruto, who had kindly forgotten her previous indiscretions and restarted their relationship on a clean slate. She was happy. Team 7 was her family and she did not let down family. Naruto walked down the road, letting his sense wash around the landscape in all directions, keeping alert for any threat. He found two. Said threats were currently disguised as puddles of water. He smirked in his mind. Seriously, that was a very substandard genjutsu. 1, it had not rained the previous day, and 2, there was no real water source nearby. Any ninja worth his salt would have noticed the two idiots. Both had water-natured chakras. He knew Sasuke and Kakashi had also noticed the puddles, by the fluctuation in their emotions. He looked at Sasuke and nodded. He received a nod in acknowledgement. Kakashi seemed as oblivious as ever. Suddenly, the two puddles became ninja who wielded chain blades. They pounced upon Kakashi and tore him to shreds. Sakura let out a high-pitched shriek and froze on the spot. Naruto and Sasuke glanced at each other and shot off at the two missing ninja. Sasuke formed seals fast and shot out a fireball at the nearest ninja, who countered with a water bullet. Naruto appeared behind the other ninja and sent a palm, which was blocked. The force of the palm sent the ninja staggering. He reinforced his palm with his Mokuton Chakra and struck the enemy hard, sending him flying into the tree behind, knocking him unconscious. Sasuke himself was engaging his opponent with his clearly improved taijutsu. It was a stalemate. Suddenly Kakashi appeared and knocked down Sasuke's adversary. "Kakashi-sensei!" Sakura cried in relief. Naruto nodded in approval, having noticed his substitution before. Kakashi glared at Tazuna. "This is no C rank, Tazuna-san. You have lied to us, and it is well within our rights to stop here." Tazuna was sweating profusely and explained about the shipping tycoon Gato. The wave country was apparently run over by his company and totally oppressed. The bridge built by Tazuna was the hope for the country, as it connected the island to the mainland and made Gato's shipping redundant. "Let us continue with the mission, Kakashi-sensei. That country is obviously in need of our services, and it will be good for Konoha to have a potentially prosperous country like Wave in its debt." Naruto reasoned with Kakashi. The Hokage in him was coming out to play. Kakashi sighed. "What do you two say?" he asked Sakura and Sasuke. Sasuke nodded affirmatively, as did Sakura. "We will continue, Tazuna-san." Tazuna sighed in relief and continued on the path towards Wave Country. Naruto followed, keeping his sensing active constantly. He needed a place to let loose his ninjutsu, preferably a large and isolated plane. His chakra was very special after all, and any spike in it would be noted by Hiruzen and his old team, so he could not unleash even a small portion of his strength in Konoha. He would have to get reacquainted with Mokuton somehow. "Kakashi-sensei, I can sense two chakras just ahead. Both are quite large, and one chakra is comparable to yours. What do we do?" Naruto asked. Kakashi looked alert. "Be ready for attack, everybody. Sakura, guard Tazuna. Sasuke and Naruto will back me up." They all nodded and proceeded onwards. About half an hour later, Naruto could sense one of the chakras close and signaled his team. This person was clearly Jounin and had a strong water affinity, and his emotions were a kind of predatory rage. He would be a dangerous opponent. They suddenly heard a buzzing sound steadily increasing. "Get down!" Kakashi yelled, and everyone dropped down. A large Zambata whirled towards them and missed them by a small margin. It embedded itself deeply in a tree by edge. Crouched upon the blade was a masked ninja who stared at them steadily. "Sharingan no Kakashi. No wonder the demon brothers failed," he said in a deep voice, surveying the team with a critical eye. Kakashi too stared back. "Zabuza Momoichi, demon of the bloody mist. All of you guard Tazuna. This fight is beyond you." Zabuza wrenched his blade from the tree and walked towards the group and stood opposite Kakashi. The environment around them was thick with the chakra they were releasing. The very air was heavy in anticipation. The two Jounin started leaking strong killer intent into the air. Tazuna, who was unaccustomed to this, sank down to the floor in terror. Sakura's face was set in a rictus of terror. Sasuke drew closer to Naruto, who stood there unconcernedly. "What is this?" he whispered. Naruto could see that the killing intent was heavily affecting his teammates. Drawing Mokuton Chakra, he released it into the air, calming the frightened genin and client. Zabuza and Kakashi looked at this new phenomenon in interest. "Good trick, kid. Do you believe that will save you?" Naruto snorted. "Save the cliché threats, Zabuza. Tell me, where's your accomplice?" "A censor ninja, right?" Zabuza asked, intrigued. "Silent killing won't work, then?" He suddenly disappeared and attacked Kakashi with a powerful swing of his giant blade. Kakashi blocked calmly with his kunai. The two then went on to engage in a fierce kenjutsu fight, shockwaves erupting from the collision of their blades. They were so fast that it seemed like rain hitting metal continuously. Zabuza tried to cleave Kakashi in two with a heavy swing, but Kakashi slipped under his guard and buried his kunai in his opponent's chest. Zabuza dissolved into water and the original appeared behind Kakashi and kicked him hard off the bridge right into the water. A clone of Zabuza formed next to Kakashi and trapped him in a sphere of water. Zabuza grinned. "You are taken care of for now, Kakashi. Watch as I kill your genin right in front of your eyes." Kakashi cursed himself for falling to such a simple strategy. He had to intensify his training as he seemed rusty. "Run. You are no match for him." Zabuza grinned again. "That's right, brats. Listen to sensei and run. Leave the bridge builder, though, and I might let you live. I want Kakashi's head for my bounty." Sasuke and Sakura flinched but gripped their kunai tightly. Naruto was irritated, though. How dare that man threaten his comrades? He would need to put the creep in his place. Senju Hashirama did not run from such annoyances. "Sasuke, Sakura, leave this to me and guard Tazuna," Naruto ordered calmly. "Oh ho, it looks like the little genin is stepping up. You three are not true ninja dash." He suddenly stopped his dramatic monologue as he watched Naruto. Massive amounts of silver chakra exploded from Naruto, saturating the air and almost bringing Zabuza down to his knees. The ground around the blonde started cracking from the immense pressure. Zabuza stared in alarm at the boy who was supposedly a genin. He needed to be put down fast, so he blurred through his hand seals. "Suetun, Suryuden no Jutsu," he roared, causing a huge water dragon to rise from the lake and rush towards Naruto. Kakashi stared with growing horror. Sasuke and Sakura closed their eyes at what they assumed was their impending doom. Naruto clapped his hands calmly in a serpent seal. "Doton, Daichi no Kabe," he intoned calmly. A huge wall of earth rose to shield the group from the water dragon, easily dissipating it. Kakashi stared with pride and curiosity at the blonde who had performed a high-level jutsu casually with only one seal. Sasuke and Sakura were just frozen with shock at the display of such power. Zabuza frantically blurred through another seal sequence. "Suetun, Daibakufu no Jutsu," he yelled, and a huge spiral of water rose from the lake and blasted with unbelievable force towards Naruto. Naruto did not release the serpent seal. "Doton, Asudaragan no Teisu," he said quietly. The earth in front of Naruto exploded, releasing four huge earth dragons. Two of them neutralized the onrushing water jutsu, and two collided with Zabuza, sending him flying. He was obviously grievously injured when he landed heavily on the shore. Before Naruto could finish the job, the dormant accomplice appeared and ran with Zabuza fast. Kakashi appeared next to Naruto. "Leave them, we will be ready for them later. Tazuna-san, lead the way to your house. Sakura and Sasuke, protect him." The three nodded and went on, still staring at Naruto with awe. Kakashi gave Naruto a hard glare. "You have a lot to answer for, Naruto." Chapter 3. Tazuna's house, Nami no Kuni. It was the day after Team 7 confronted Zabuza. A day after Naruto drove Zabuza back effortlessly and ignited suspicion in Kakashi's mind. Naruto sat at the shore of Wave Country, the wind ruffling his hair. He waited for sunrise and Kakashi with a calm look on his face. He had thought long and hard as to what to say to Kakashi and decided upon a course of action. Since the awakening of his previous life, he had given himself little time for self-introspection. He had created for himself an illusion of normalcy over the months, and his deceptive mask was beginning to seep into his true personality, as if remembering a previous life that to his life as the Shodai Hokage would ever be normal. The ease with which he had forced a supposedly a rank criminal to flee forced him to truly confront his awakening. There was always a niggling doubt in his mind that he had gone mad. But the fight with Zabuza had erased that doubt forever, even more so than the tussle with Kakashi a month ago. Thus he had finally asked himself the important question. Who was he truly? He did not think like the old Naruto anymore. No, he had lived and lost too much for that, even if only in mind and another life. The old Naruto was a boy who was starved for affection, cast out and abused by the very populace he was sacrificed to protect. So he put up a bright front and drew attention to himself, seeking to convince himself that he was a normal part of a normal society. The truth hurt, so he had shielded himself with a lie. It was the thinking of a child. Ever since he realized his previous life, things got more complicated. He had grown into the experienced and the highly cultured mind he had developed as Hashirama rather abruptly. During the months he spent sorting the two lives he had lived, he was flitting between the personalities he possessed during this life and his previous. He knew that was not healthy and that he was developing a psychological disorder. Luckily, Senju Hashirama also knew a way to treat this disorder. He used to be the foremost medic of his age, after all, and had a working knowledge of psychology. Thus he had come here to the quiet shores of Nami to meditate and accept himself, to stop just using his life as Hashirama. He was here to become the person he used to be as Hashirama. Naruto's life was too melancholy to be dwelt upon. The scars, mental or physical, endured during childhood went deeper than those gained as an adult. They healed faster as well, but he was denied the innocent forgetfulness and forgiveness of a child. No, he was forced into the thinking and strength of his legendary previous life, and that had changed him in unexpected ways. Senju Hashirama, despite his life and losses, was extremely strong, both as a shinobi and as a man. He had taken all the challenges life threw at him with fortitude and cheerfulness, and he was extremely easygoing. He had refused to give in to the dark side of a shinobi, strongly remaining a beacon of solace and hope to the village he had founded. He was the light of Konoha, an unassailable force that kept the village strong and prosperous, a guiding force of mercy and compassion. Naruto, on the other hand, knew little happiness during his childhood. Stripped of parents, love, and forced to survive in a cold and hostile village, he had developed a sad and melancholy view of life and was considerably confused and angry. He now drew solace from his life as Hashirama. The love Hashirama had in his life was enough to heal the hatred in Naruto's. He would stop letting this life's trauma darkening his true self. The first light of dawn washed over the shore, causing Naruto to look up at the beautiful scene with a smile on his face. An epiphany struck him at that point. He did not have to answer the question of who he was, not yet. He was still a child now. He would continue as the Shodai Hokage in mind and let the future shape him into a new person. The sun broke out in earnest, casting everything in the fresh light of dawn. Naruto could feel the confusion, anger, and resentment he had been hiding since the awakening draining away. He could feel the unshakable calm and assurance he had felt as the first returning. It was faith in himself and his strength, faith in his precious people. He now appreciated his rebirth for what it was, a second chance. It was a second chance for him to protect what was precious to him, to lift Konoha back to its greatness, back to the village that held kindness and camaraderie, loyalty and faith above everything else. That resolution left him with a feeling he had been missing for the entire duration of this life: peace and contentment. He felt more like himself than he ever did as Naruto or as Hashirama. The golden age of Konoha would be back, and he would do his best to make that happen. This time he would guide Konoha to be stronger than ever before. The legacy of the Senju clan would not fade away. The wind blew once more, causing his shoulder-length blonde hair to fly as he stood up, neither as Naruto the attention-craving and damaged boy, nor as Naruto who was desperately trying to choose between two lives. No, he stood up as the reborn Shodai Hokage, who was tempered by the trauma of his second childhood. He was wiser for it, but not darker. He could sense a familiar chakra approaching him. It was time for him to tell Kakashi the truth. Trust had to be freely given, and he had come to the conclusion that Kakashi was a ninja who had the will of fire burning brightly within him. A shinobi worthy of his trust. Kakashi walked towards the place he had asked Naruto to meet him at. He had directed Sasuke and Sakura to do the tree climbing exercise, and left them to it. He knew that Naruto had extremely perfect chakra control. One could not perform those earth jutsu with just a single seal without that much control, even if one had a very strong affinity. Naruto was an enigma, and he would get his answers today. He would care for Naruto the way Minato had taken care of him. Kakashi made his way beside Naruto, who was calmly staring at the newly risen sun, and tapped him on the shoulder. "Well, Naruto?" Naruto turned to face him and Kakashi gave a gasp. Naruto had changed even more. His blazing forest green eyes had held compassion that should not be seen on any child. But now they held resolve as well, unearthly resolve. Those eyes at least were old. His face, though, was quite cheerful. He seemed to have thrown a great weight off his soul. He almost looked like Minato-sensei. "Hey, Kakashi-sensei, so you are here for answers, right? You want to know how I have changed so much?" Kakashi snorted, amused. "Yeah, that is why I am here. I'll keep your secrets as long as they are of no harm to Konoha. Oh, and don't bother to lie. I will be watching you closely with my Sharingan." "Cool. Don't worry, Kakashi-sensei. I won't lie." Kakashi nodded. "So, right?" Naruto sat down with crossed legs, a thoughtful look on his face. He cast out his senses for intruders and found just two people sufficiently far from their position. Just as a precaution, he put up a very powerful silencing barrier. "You do know of the botched ceiling, I believe?" Kakashi stared wide-eyed. "You know of Kyubi? How is that possible? Who told you?" Naruto waved his hand unconcernedly. "I met the fox and he told me everything about the ceiling. Except for the fourth's mistake. Neither he nor I know what happened then." "You met the Kyubi? You must be careful, Naruto. That thing is pure evil." Naruto snorted. "No, not really. It is just a bored immortal fox with a great deal of power on its hands. Even I will die eventually and it will be free one day, so it can wait. A century means nothing to the bijou, you know?" Kakashi just stared. "Anyway, I know that Yondaime was my father, and Uzumaki Kushina is my mother." Naruto looked at him meaningfully. Kakashi sighed. "I did not expect this day to come so soon. Yes, my sensei the Yondaime was your father, and your mother is alive. She did not abandon you, by the way. She loved you too much for that. But you must ask the Sandaime for details, though, as I have no idea why she left." Naruto was happy. His mother had not left him callously. He would definitely grill Hiruzen for answers, though. "That is a relief to hear. I would have forgiven her anyway. Family is too precious to throw away so easily, is it not?" Kakashi looked at him in wonder. "You are no child, Naruto, nor are you a mere genin. Tell me, who are you?" Naruto was laughing. "You hit the nail right on its head, Kakashi-sensei. I will tell you, don't worry. Anyway, the mistake during the ceiling had awakened something in me that is impossible for any soul to awaken. It is truly the Shinigami's gift to me." Kakashi looked serious. "What did you awaken?" "It did not happen until a few months ago, when my old sensory abilities manifested stronger than ever. Has to do with the absorption of my Uzumaki chakra, I guess." Naruto started mumbling theories. His tangential thought process was cut off by Kakashi's sharp voice. "What do you mean, your old sensory abilities, Naruto? Just what did you awaken?" Naruto looked Kakashi in the eyes. "Watch closely, Kakashi-sensei. You will not believe what I say without me showing you." Naruto turned to the opposing shore, which was just visible. Tezuna's half-complete bridge lay far to their left. He gazed at the bridge, calculating and visualizing. He turned back to the opposite shore and gathered his chakra. Kakashi looked on as chakra exploded from Naruto once more, a massive amount. How could a boy of 13 release so much chakra and not even blink? He waited for Naruto to do something. He saw Naruto perform the serpent seal, and he could see chakra being molded in an unfamiliar way with his Sharingan. Was it an earth jutsu again?
Mokuto ni jutsu, mokusai no kibona hasi.
A great rumbling sound was heard, and the waters of the sea were churning as if something was trying to come out. What did come out caused Kakashi to nearly faint. A massive bridge made entirely of wood rose from the sea, identical in every way to Tezuna's. It spanned from Nami to the mainland in a straight line, and it was monstrous in size. It was about half again as large as Tezuna's bridge. Kakashi pinched himself hard, convinced he had lost it. No, the bridge had not disappeared. He flared his chakra to a high and then, Ki, he yelled, sending out a huge blast of chakra. Naruto face-palmed. Convinced he was not under a genjutsu, Kakashi stared at the wooden bridge reverently. Then he turned to Naruto with a look of absolute amazement on his face. "How?" he asked, his voice shaking. "You asked me twice what I had awakened, Kakashi-sensei. The answer is, I awakened memories of my previous life and became that person recently, with a few changes of course." Kakashi had a look of dawning realization on his face, but still observed Naruto with his Sharingan blazing. "I was and am Senju Hashirama, one of Konoha's founders and its Shodai Hokage." Kakashi did faint this time. Momoichi Zabuza had just woken up groggily, and the first thing he saw was Gato's unpleasant face leering at him. "Woken up, have you, demon of the bloody mist?" Haku appeared in front of Gato and released his killer intent, causing Gato to fall down to his knees. He let up a moment later. "Leave. Scum, like you don't even deserve to lick the feet of Zabuza-sama." Gato scowled as well. "Make sure you get the job done, or else." Zabuza turned to Gato slowly. "The blonde boy is very strong. He and Kakashi together cannot be defeated by just me and Haku. You will need to reinforce us with more shinobi." "And where am I to get more shinobi? It was hard enough to get hold of you too. Missing nin are tough to find." Zabuza said weakly, "I will send a message to one of my previous acquaintances. He is strong enough to get the job done providing you pay him well, Gato." Haku just looked worried. "But..." Gato ignored her and looked directly at Zabuza. "And who is this ninja you have so much faith in?" Zabuza closed his eyes, preparing once more to rest. "Hashigaki Kisame." Sasuke had just finished with the tree climbing exercise and was quietly eating his breakfast with Sakura. Eating alongside them were Tsunami, Tezuna's daughter, and Inari, her son. The door opened to allow Kakashi and Naruto inside. Sasuke threw a glance in their direction and was startled. Something had evidently changed between sensei and student. Where Kakashi used to look at Naruto with pride and appreciation, he now gave Naruto a look full of respect, awe, and reverence. This did not go unnoticed by Sakura either. "What happened, Kakashi-sensei?" Sakura asked. Kakashi glanced at them and his expression changed to his usual bored face. "Things happened," he said listlessly. Sasuke gave his trademark response, "H-in." Sakura looked at Naruto. "Why were you not there for training, Naruto?" "The tree climbing exercise? I already know it, Sakura-chan," Naruto said cheerfully. Sakura was about to retort, but remembered Naruto's exploits at the bridge again. He would probably know the exercise at that. Inari suddenly spoke up. "Why do you all bother, anyway? Gato is going to kill you all. He is too strong for anybody." The shinobi all gave him a deadpan little shrimp, looked unnerved by their silent glares. "Why are you all looking at me like that? You have no idea how strong Gato is. You have no idea what we have suffered." Sasuke looked disgusted at that statement, Sakura looked irritated, and Kakashi just went back to his reading. Naruto had sympathy on his face as he looked at the kid. "We have all suffered, child. More than you can possibly imagine. Don't worry, Inari. You will soon see something that will restore your faith. All of you will, Naruto said, looking at all of the family of 3 with satisfaction. What do you mean? Tazuna asked. Naruto looked at Sasuke and Sakura as well. Come with me to the bridge, will you? You will see something remarkable. Sasuke snorted. What are you talking about? Naruto just looked overexcited now. Come on! And he appeared behind his teammates and started dragging them off, ignoring their vehement complaints. Kakashi just smiled at Tazuna and his family. He is right. You will see something that will stay with you the rest of your lives. Tazuna shrugged and followed Naruto along with his family. Inari just looked pissed, as did Sasuke as they walked behind Naruto and Kakashi towards the bridge which was coming into sight. Naruto just laughed at their identical expression. They reached the bridge entrance after a 15-minute walk. We are here, dope. What is it you wanted us to see? Sasuke asked with extreme irritation upon his face. Look to your right, Sasuke, Naruto said mischievously. They all did and felt their jaws drop. Tazuna and his family stared at the completed and massive all-wood bridge as if it were their salvation. Tears ran down their faces as they realized they were saved. They were saved. Inari started laughing through his tears as did Tsunami. Tazuna fell on his knees. Sasuke and Sakura lifted up their hands in the ram seal and simultaneously yelled, Kai! Kakashi bonked them on their heads. Don't bother, I did that too. It's real. Sakura looked at Naruto with just one question written all over her face. How? I have Mokutan, Naruto said happily. His teammates looked stunned. I don't believe you, it must be something else, Sasuke said pointedly. Sakura just stared at him skeptically. What is Mokutan? Tazuna asked curiously, getting over his astonishment over seeing the wooden bridge. It is the most revered bloodline in Konoha, possessed by the Shodai Hokage. The power he wielded with Mokutan is almost a fairy tale. It is said that he created Konoha's core area and the forest surrounding it with a single jutsu. Sakura recited from what seemed like rote memory. The bridge builder and his family looked awed. Inari looked at Naruto with an expression dangerously resembling the one on Sasuke's fangirls. And you have it, Naruto and Aizen? He says he does, but there is no way he can have it, Sasuke said snidely. Mokutan Haijitsu, Shinboku no Jasho, Naruto intoned, looking smugly at Sasuke. A beautiful cherry tree rose up from the earth behind them and stood about 30 feet high, spreading its branches over them all. Its bright pink blossoms showered down upon them softly, thanks to the force of its birth. Beautiful, Sakura whispered in reverent awe.
Dobe.
Sasuke seemed lost for words, as did Tazuna and family. Kakashi pitied them all. If only they knew that it was the Shodai himself who was wielding the wood release in front of them. Sasuke, Naruto showed you and Sakura his Mokutan as a measure of his trust in you. Please do not say anything about it to anybody until I say it is fine. Got it? Sasuke and Sakura just nodded dumbly. I need you to promise me. I promise, Sasuke said reluctantly, echoed by Sakura, Tazuna, and the others. Sasuke turned to Naruto. So you created that wooden bridge all by yourself? I find that hard to believe, Dobe, even if you have wood release. Only Hashirama-sama could create things on such a scale. Naruto started. That was way too close to the truth, and he was content with only Kakashi knowing it for the time being. Believe me, it took the last of my chakra, Sasuke, and I had to take a soldier pill to replenish my lost stores. I was literally crawling after doing that.
Naruto lied unconvincingly.
If he had one thing common in both lives, it was that he could not lie to save his life. Fortunately, Sasuke swallowed up that lame excuse, but Sakura looked skeptical still. But one look from Kakashi told her to drop the matter. Kakashi stared hard at Sasuke. Naruto will use Mokutan only in the direst of situations, so do not bother him about it. It is not something to be used frivolously, as it is the most sacred and coveted of Konoha's bloodlines. Clear? Sasuke nodded again. Naruto heaved a sigh of relief. He could now practice his ninjutsu without fear of discovery by Konoha's higher echelons. Tazuna turned to Naruto and spoke. Is wood not easily combustible? That bridge can be burnt down easily. Naruto replied nonchalantly, Relax, Tazuna-san. That bridge is as durable as stone and about as combustible. So you need not worry about it. Tazuna was convinced. He bowed low to Naruto. You are a hero to Nami, Naruto-san. My capabilities must not be revealed, Tazuna-san. This is all I demand for my services. Can you deliver? I swear, Naruto-san. Your secret is safe with me and my family. Naruto nodded. One day later, Naruto opened his eyes, stopping his meditation. He was currently trying to bring back the purity and potency his chakra had back in his other life. That would take him at least another 3 to 4 years, by which time he estimated that his old capacity too would return. But what made Naruto shiver in excitement was that his growth would not stop there. Oh no, it would continue at the rate of an Uzumaki and a Senju, which he knew was astronomical. He grinned excitedly. His chakra capacity this time would be much higher than his chakra capacity as Hashirama, which was a truly frightening prospect. In the age of the founding Kage, Hashirama was said to be the foremost Kage. He had enough strength to casually calm the rage of 9 Bijou simultaneously. They called him the strongest shinobi to exist since the Rikudo Sannin. That strength multiplied by 2, even by 3. This time, he would have the strength to protect his precious ones and his village. Take that, Madara, the child in him proclaimed, which was pretty much all of him. He did used to be called frivolous and childish by the entire Senju clan. His trip to his happy place was interrupted by a bonk on his head. Turning indignantly, he saw the emo face of his teammate, Uchiha Sasuke. Dobe, can I talk to you for a second? Sasuke queried with a constipated look on his face. Naruto looked closely at him. He seemed to be in discomfort. Bowel problems? The medic in him asked with concern. Sasuke looked ready to kill him. A light bulb flashed in his head. That's why he looks like that. Not easy to let go of your pride. Sasuke? Sasuke seemed to have calmed down. Can you tell me how you move so fast in a battle? I know it is a ninjutsu. What is it called? Naruto looked at him in interest. A polite Sasuke? Team, it is called the Shunshin no Jutsu. Yes, you can use it too. But to use it like I do with just one seal requires absolute mastery of chakra control, or to dedicate a lot of time to the Shunshin itself. Why do you ask? Can you teach me, Dobe? In exchange, I will teach you the Grand Fireball. What do you say? Sasuke asked Naruto with that pained expression still on his face. Naruto stared at Sasuke. The child was able to fight down his own pride. Uchiha pride stoked by the village for years. If he kept up this attitude, he would become strong indeed. One sensing of Sasuke's emotions told Naruto that he was sincere, even if reluctant. He had never bothered with Katan himself, as mastery over Doton and Suiton was enough for him. This was perfect. This was the way to engender long-lasting camaraderie, not by some impromptu test. He made a mistake with that test, really. So he decided. Teaching Sasuke and learning from him would be great training for the team. He would rope Sakura in as well, and teach her how to use that excellent chakra control of hers. I agree, Sasuke. I will teach you Shunshin in exchange for your fire technique. Let's get Sakura. I have a few ideas for her as well. The two of them trotted off, a tentative new bond forming between them. Naruto was quite happy inside. Sasuke was the first friend he had made in this life. Even the experience and maturity of him being Hashirama reborn did not fill the void left by lack of friends. It intensified it, actually. Hashirama had thrived on friendship, love, and loyalty. Resolve filled Naruto. I will make him a powerful shinobi. 3 days later, Naruto looked at Sasuke with satisfaction. The Uchiha could now perform a shunshin with the proper hand seal sequence. He was quite slow with it by his standards, but it would do. Sakura had also progressed well with genjutsu. Naruto was considering teaching her how to augment her strength with chakra, seeing she had good control. She even had good enough control to be a good medic. But time was lacking before Gato attacked them, tried to destroy the bridge or both. Presumably, he would go recruit much more powerful ninja. So he always kept his senses extended so he could sense any threats. Kakashi was being annoying as well. The Jounin had insisted on deferring to him whenever they were in private, calling him Shodai-sama. That had irritated him to no end, and he had put his foot down firmly, telling Kakashi that he was still Naruto, albeit one that remembered his previous life. That definitely did not change who he was at the core. Kakashi had finally understood, but insisted that they were equals at least. The thought of treating the legendary Shodai as a subordinate made him really uncomfortable. Naruto had conceded, but he had re-emphasized his point that he was the Shodai reborn into this life, so he would try to redefine himself into something more. As he looked around at the training ground idly, an anomaly came to his attention. It seemed that a massive chakra with a water affiliation was rapidly approaching the bridges, presumably to destroy them. Gato had made his move. Kakashi-sensei, I can sense a massive chakra with a really strong water affinity heading towards the bridges. What do you think we should do? Kakashi turned towards Naruto. How massive is the chakra, Naruto? He still fumbled with the name. I can match him, but only just. I can outlast him with my chakra control, though. Kakashi was alarmed. A ninja with as much chakra as the Shodai? Naruto must have sensed his discomfiture, for he replied. Do not worry, Kakashi-sensei. Currently I am at about a fifth of my old strength. The body of a child, even an Uzumaki child, can handle only so much chakra. I will grow back into my old strength and more in a few years. Kakashi looked relieved. It is clearly a diversionary tactic, Naruto. They hope to separate us. Naruto nodded. Kakashi continued. Gato would not hire multiple missing nin of this much strength, as it would threaten his own position. So we can assume safely that this person you sensed was the only new hire. Would you check to be sure? Naruto cast out his senses at full strength and checked 7 kilometers in all directions. Except for the one he had sensed, there was no one else notable. Just the one. Kakashi started thinking aloud again. We can assume 2 things. One, Gato's base is at least more than 7 kilometers from here, as you could not sense Zabuza. Naruto agreed with him. And secondly, we can now be 100% sure that Gato has hired only one missing nin. How do you figure that? Naruto asked curiously. Zabuza knows that you are a sensory type, but he has no way of knowing your extraordinary range. The strongest sensor in the 7 swordsmen had a range of 3 kilometers, so Zabuza would have assumed that much as well. So if you could sense no one at full strength, it means that there is indeed no one, as the enemy will have underestimated your sensing range. Naruto gave Kakashi a look of respect and nodded. A great jounin indeed. I can tell you one last thing, though. The one rushing towards the bridge is probably one of Zabuza's acquaintances, as Gato does not have his fingers deep in the shinobi missing nin world. Yet, Kakashi looked towards his other 2 students. Go on, Naruto prodded. Sakura and Sasuke had by now finished their training and were walking leisurely towards them. By your description of his massive chakra and strong water affinity, it is most likely Hashigaki Kisame. Naruto looked intrigued. Can you tell me more about him? I only know that he has so much chakra that he is dubbed the tailless-tailed beast, and he possesses the great sword Samahata, which consumes the chakra of its opponents. So it would be better if you go and deal with him, while I stay here and defend Tazuna-san. Naruto understood. Kakashi had proved himself as worthy of his reputation once again. An excellent analysis, Kakashi-sensei. Now I need to be going. Make Zabuza bite the dirt for me. Will you? Kakashi chuckled and nodded. Naruto disappeared with a shunshin. Where is he going? Sakura asked. Kakashi turned to them. Gato has made his move. Zabuza and his accomplice will most likely attack here, so get ready. Sakura and Sasuke looked excited and nodded. Kakashi directed them to begin evacuating Tazuna and family to a safe place so they could fight the enemy unhindered. Naruto appeared on the bridge he had raised with a series of fast shunshin. A figure awaited him on the water a good distance from the bridge. He appeared before the ninja with another shunshin. In both his lives, he had never come across an odd specimen like him. Naruto contained his impulse to just start laughing out. He was blue-skinned and looked like a shark taken human form. Oh, and he wore a black cloak with red clouds stitched upon it with a porcupine-like sword slung across his shoulder. He again sensed the abundant chakra oozing from the man and saw that his earlier estimates were right. The chakra of the swordsman felt unrefined and unsubtle but was full of raw power. "You look ridiculous," Naruto voiced his thoughts. This man was obviously a jutsu powerhouse. It would be a close fight. The man scowled. "You are the brat Zabuza told me to be wary of? You don't look like much to me, just a short, snotty Konoha genin.
Skram, brat.
I have a bridge to destroy." Naruto was a little irritated at the jab to his height. He could not use shunshin too much in this fight, as he would need all his chakra at his command at any instant. He released his chakra in an explosion of silver, causing the water to spiral around him agitatedly. His opponent grinned and released his chakra as well to much the same effect. The two steadily continued pumping more chakra into the air. The waves started getting higher and a wind blew hard in response to the agitation of the water. The man unslung his huge sword and held it in one hand. Naruto narrowed his eyes. He was strong. "I am Hoshigaki Kisame, wielder of Samahata. You are strong, brat. What is your name?" Naruto smiled, settling into the opening stance of the nature fist. "I'm Uzumaki Naruto, genin of Konoha." He disappeared with a burst of speed and attacked Kisame with a kick which was blocked nonchalantly with Samahata. This ninja was good. Naruto grinned. This would be a great fight. Flaring his chakra even more, he started fighting Kisame in earnest, the graceful power of the nature fist matched by the masterful kenjutsu of Kisame. Shockwaves emanated from wherever they met, causing water to fly everywhere in violent waves. Naruto was unleashing more and more strength in his blows, and Kisame seemed to be blocking them all with some effort. Naruto flared his chakra even more, his blazing green eyes settling on Kisame's fish-like ones. Kisame had unwrapped the bindings on Samahata and held it towards Naruto. They both disappeared once more and met with a resounding impact, causing water to fly outwards in a huge circular wave. Kisame grinned as the unwrapped Samahata absorbed the monstrous impact of Naruto's strike. Naruto sagged suddenly and looked at Samahata in realization.
Samehada likes chakra, brat.
"Allow me to feed it with yours." But Samahata suddenly started coughing as it started going limp. Naruto wanted to laugh as he saw the sword acting sick. The stupid thing had taken in a healthy dose of his nature chakra. "Looks like Samahata has a bad case of indigestion, Kisame," Naruto said, laughing. Kisame looked incensed and flew back a good distance and started going through hand seals rapidly. "Suetun, Bakusue Shoha," Kisame yelled. A humongous water wave rose from the sea and hurtled towards Naruto, seeking to crush him. Naruto too gathered chakra and held out his hands in the tiger seal. "Suetun, Suijin Hiki," he responded. A massive water wall rose up to absorb the impact of the wave, rendering Kisame's jutsu useless. Kisame stared at Naruto with a raised eyebrow as the water settled down. "A jutsu like that with a single seal? Not bad. Brat, you have a very strong affinity to water, I see." But Tobarama's was always a bit stronger, he thought nostalgically. watching Kisame clap his hand palms together and slam one hand on the water surface. Suetun, Gasho Kuzaime. 5 ferocious sharks shot towards Naruto from his palm. A cool jutsu, thought Naruto absently as he felt a large spike in Kakashi's and Sasuke's anger. His heart skipped a beat. He could no longer sense Sakura's chakra. He had to finish this fast. He held out the dragon seal and yelled out his jutsu.
Suiton, Mizuno Uzu Kakudai.
A huge whirlpool whose diameter spanned a third of the entire length of his bridge started forming around Naruto rapidly, so powerful that it even exposed a bit of the ocean floor deep beneath him. Kisame's sharks were snuffed out of existence like little gnats, and the whirlpool kept on expanding ominously towards Kisame, who was retreating hastily and prepared to counter with his own jutsu. Naruto heard a tremendous explosion behind him, but paid little attention to it. Naruto abruptly released his jutsu, causing the water of the sea to roll around chaotically, generating powerful currents. He used the distraction to catch Kisame in his genjutsu.
Kokwanyo no Jutsu.
Kisame suddenly flailed around blindly, caught in a genjutsu of absolute swirling darkness. He flared his chakra continuously in massive pulses, trying to break out in vain. Naruto held too firm, though pouring most of his chakra into the Bringer of Darkness technique. He appeared behind the essentially blind Kisame and struck with his forefinger at a vital point on his head with great precision, knocking him out instantly. He suddenly felt unbearable pain in his back, causing him to fall to one knee. He reached behind and pulled out the kunai embedded in his back. Blood flowed down his back. The wound was quite deep. His spine was nicked, and only pain tolerance built over decades allowed him to think clearly. He looked up and saw a young man wearing a black cloak stitched with red clouds in the process of slinging Kisame on his back. He routed pure medical chakra towards his injury and healed himself almost instantly, and stood up. The young man had turned to leave. As if a wound like that could keep him down. Sharingan. The young man had a Sharingan. No deeper sensing told him that he possessed the Manjikyu as well, and that it was used frequently. Uchiha Itachi, Naruto said calmly. This youngster was a real enigma. He could wait a bit to talk, as he could sense that his teammates had ended their fight. A face closely resembling Sasuke's, check. Manjikyu Sharingan most likely obtained from clan slaughter, check. The man turned around abruptly, his eyes widening at the sound of the boy who he thought was seriously injured. I thought I had neutralized you, Naruto-kun, Itachi said, his stoic face expertly hiding his emotions. You seem to be making a habit of killing unwary people, Uchiha Itachi, Naruto said, silver chakra exploding from him again. The Kyuubi healed you, I assume. Let him believe that. A reasonable assumption. You are a real prodigy to have escaped my sensory perception so thoroughly. Good job, Naruto said admiringly. Itachi did not acknowledge that in any way. He studied Naruto carefully with his Sharingan. You are very strong to have defeated Kisame, Naruto-kun. He was not really giving it his all, but I can see that you weren't either. Naruto's expression became cheerful, his silver chakra receding. Yeah, that was a good fight. Tell Kisame that it was fun. Itachi did not respond except to raise his eyebrow and disappear. He surveyed the damage wrought by his fight with Kisame. The trees along the coastline were all destroyed. He could repair that, no problem. He turned around completely and saw something that made his jaw drop and eyes bug out. He had destroyed the bridge he had so dramatically created with his own jutsu. That whirlpool he used against Kisame had churned his bridge to pieces. He would be the laughingstock of Team 7. He really felt like going somewhere private and banging his head repeatedly on a wall. He should have made the wood of the bridge a little more chakra-resistant, he thought sadly. But that would have aroused suspicions among shinobi that a Mokuton user walked the lands again. It would completely destroy the rumors Kakashi had planted about his multiple shadow clones building a bridge in 2 days. Deciding to forget this embarrassment, he shined quickly towards Tezuna's house. He had been relieved when he had faintly felt Sakura's life force. He could heal almost any injury except death. A week later, a fully recuperated Team 7 waved one last time to the people of Nami, Tazuna and family at the forefront of the huge group, and began walking back to Konoha contentedly. Tazuna's bridge was complete. Naruto had refused to rebuild his wood bridge, saying that the hope of Nami had to be created by its people alone. Thus they had named the bridge after Team 7, all their names engraved upon its arch. He had briefly told Kakashi how he had defeated Kisame and confronted Itachi, alarming the man greatly. Naruto wanted to make speculations and give details only when they were back in the presence of the Sandaime. Some secrets were too sensitive. The fight with Zabuza had gone well, resulting in the death of both Zabuza and his accomplice, who he learned was called Haku. What a waste, Naruto thought. The last Hayatan user lost to the world. Evidently Sasuke and Haku had formed a bond before the fight, without Sasuke knowing Haku's true identity. When Sakura was put into a near-death state by a masked Haku, Sasuke had awakened his Sharingan and engaged Haku. He had managed to counter the Hayatan user's assault and break open his mask. Sasuke had refused to strike a final blow against one he counted a friend. Haku had died to protect Zabuza from Kakashi's Raikiri. Gato had then assailed the entire group with his thugs. So Sasuke and Zabuza, the latter moved deeply by Haku's sacrifice, had together finished off the entire thug army, albeit with a little help from the villagers. Zabuza too succumbed to his wounds and was buried alongside Haku. The entire ordeal had changed Sasuke's attitude, igniting in him the will of fire and wiping out the last of his hatred. Naruto could see it only too clearly. With Sasuke fighting alongside him, they would be able to do together what he could not do with Madara. Chapter 4. See you later, Naruto waved to his teammates. They had just returned to Konoha from a very educational mission in Wave Country. Kakashi and Naruto made their way towards the Hokage Tower leisurely. Will you tell the third everything? Kakashi asked Naruto. I will. He could pick up signs of deception extremely well even as a boy, and I am not really good at deceiving my precious people. Truth is the strongest weapon, Kakashi-sensei. Lies can be twisted against you always, as you may know from your own experience as a shinobi. Kakashi nodded as they stood in front of the Sandaime's secretary. We are here to report the success of our mission to the third, Kakashi stated lazily. The secretary gave her customary dirty glance to Naruto and went to find out if the third was free. Doesn't it bother you, the way you are treated in the village? Kakashi asked Naruto regretfully. He had to have been there for the boy, but it was impossible. The village had needed every ninja on call to recover from the Kyuubi attack, and Naruto would have been as good as neglected in Kakashi's home. Not really. As Naruto the child, I learned to disregard the glares of the people, though it really caused me unutterable sadness. But now I really feel sad for the village I founded. They are just like sheep, unwilling and unable to think for themselves. That was not my intention for the shinobi of Konoha. The secretary came back. The Sandaime will see you now. Naruto followed Kakashi into the office of the third Hokage. The more Naruto saw this place, the more he felt the change Konoha had undergone. This office, which had exuded a sense of loyalty and patriotism to the village during his reign, now gave off a sense of bureaucratic power-mongering. Hiruzen. His student had sacrificed much for the sake of the village, but one glance at him told Naruto that he was weary. The will of fire burned in him still, but the village had asked too much of this man. He had given up family, love, and much more for Konoha. Hiruzen, at least, was everything he had hoped to see in the future generation. Report, Kakashi the Third ordered, looking at Naruto and Kakashi with a discerning eye. Hi, Sandaime-sama, nodded Kakashi, and began his report. On the road to Nami, we were attacked by the demon brothers of Kiri, who were dealt with easily by Sasuke and Sakura. Turns out that Tazuna was lying about the mission. Kakashi related the events of the mission up to when Zabuza attacked them on the bridge and Naruto drove him off. Hiruzen looked surprised. How do you know those jutsus, Naruto? Naruto took a deep breath. Old man, this is private. Very confidential. I suggest you send off the 4 ANBU guarding you. It is only for your ears and will only take a moment. Hiruzen signaled, sending off the ANBU. If he couldn't trust Naruto, he could trust no one. Naruto went to the wall behind Hiruzen's desk and placed his hand on it, watched carefully by Hiruzen and an amused Kakashi. He flared his chakra and caused a glowing seal array to appear on the wall. Hiruzen's eyes grew wide and he stared at Naruto with the full authority of a battle-hardened warrior. How can you know the existence of those seals, Naruto? How can you use them? Naruto unleashed the full might of his chakra, causing cracks to appear on the wall and the plastering to peel off. Hiruzen's table was cracking up. It felt as smothering, as if the air itself had thickened. Kakashi found it difficult to breathe as he stared with awe at the Shodai Hokage unleashing his chakra, and to think it was only a fraction of his strength. Hiruzen had his hand upon his heart as he felt a chakra he thought he would never feel again in his life. It was impossible, he convinced himself. It was impossible for Naruto to have nearly the exact same chakra as his beloved departed sensei. But the boy's actions spoke different. He had activated that seal. The seal array on the wall glowed a blinding white and the room lurched violently, causing its 3 occupants to stick their feet to the ground with chakra to stay firm. The light receded and Naruto turned to look at Hiruzen with an expression of compassion and pride on his face. It is safe to talk. Hiruzen stared hard at Naruto, disbelief written clearly upon his face. How is this possible? You should not even know of that seal's existence. No one should except the Hokage. Naruto smiled. I will answer you, Sandaime. When the mistake happened with the sealing of the Kyuubi into my infant body dash. How do you know of the Kyuubi? Hiruzen asked, alarmed. I know about my parents too. As I said to Kakashi, I spoke to the Kyuubi. Please, Sandaime, listen to the rest. Hiruzen nodded, withholding his turbulent emotions at the sudden onslaught of information. Go on, I will withhold my questions for now. The mistake awakened a new aspect for me. I found myself remembering my previous life, old man. That should be impossible, but it happened. I think you can deduce the rest, can't you? Naruto said, looking at the wondrous realization blooming on the Hokage's face.
Hashirama-sama?
Hiruzen asked with a hushed voice, his eyes shining. Naruto looked at Hiruzen with happiness and nodded. I am him, but I am Naruto as well. I think you can appreciate the merging of my 2 lives better than anyone, as you knew me intimately in both lives. I am proud of you, Hiruzen. Kakashi looked at the reunion between sensei and student with his hairs standing on end. He was watching history unfold here in this room. 2 of Konoha's greatest figures, who should have met again only in the afterlife, stood facing each other in the most unlikely reunion of all. Sarutobi Hiruzen was lost for words. He sat dumbly, staring with awe at the legendary first. That is how you could activate the seal. I guess I have no choice but to believe you, Hashirama-sama? Or Naruto, what should I call you? I am Naruto, Hiruzen. I should never have remembered my old life normally. It was a 1 in a million chance, and it happened to me. I am Naruto who remembers his old life as Hashirama. I am both Hashirama and Naruto in essence. Hiruzen stared at his mentor as he described himself. He could see both Naruto and the Shodai in the boy. This is most unexpected. Forgive me, Sandaime-sama. What was that seal Naruto just activated? Sarutobi cleared his throat. It is a most advanced seal created by Mito-sama and Tobirama-sensei for Hashirama-sama's use. It was attuned to his chakra and his chakra alone. This is irrefutable proof of Naruto's claims. Kakashi looked at Naruto, seeing as the Sandaime was off on a mental tangent. Why is it safe to talk after the seal was activated? Naruto's eyes glazed over as he recalled the memories of past days. My wife Mito and my brother Tobirama made that seal for me to insulate the Hokage's office totally from the outside world. It is a space-time seal. The way Tobirama explained it to me, it transports those occupants of the room I choose into the space between moments. Kakashi looked confused. What does that even mean? Don't ask me, Tobirama and Mito-chan designed that thing. It was Tobirama who was always into things like space-time techniques, and my wife's mastery over seals was unheard of even during the Age of Founders. Kakashi still looked quizzical. Fine, all I really understand is this. As long as I hold this seal active, whatever happens between the chosen occupants of this office for that duration will happen in a single instant of the flow of time in the world outside, effectively sealing the required conversation completely from the outside world. Kakashi looked at the clock, which had frozen. But on close observation with Sharingan, he could see that the second hand was moving very slowly. Kakashi, I smiled. Now I understand. To be able to do something like that, not even Sensei would have been able to do that. Hiruzen, who had come out of his funk, shook his head in disagreement. Minato was just tapping into his potential and had invented the Hiraishin no Jutsu as a teenager. I think he would have surpassed Tobirama-sensei if he were to still live. Naruto could feel the drain on his chakra as he held the seal active. Hiruzen, let us get on with it, please. I think I can hold the seal for another quarter-hour maximum. I don't yet have the amount of chakra I possessed as Hashirama, and this seal is very draining. Let me tell you of what happened in Wave from my perspective. Naruto launched into a narrative of how he had drove off Zabuza the first time, and how he had defeated Kisame. He also told the Hokage of how he had confronted Sasuke's brother. You need to tell me what is up with that Itachi kid later, Hiruzen. He is really not the sort to kill needlessly from what I sensed of him. I can smell something wrong with the entire Uchiha affair. Hiruzen sighed sadly. You are right. The Uchiha slaughter was not the work of a maniacal shinobi. I will tell you of it later. Naruto nodded. We will need to speak of my mother as well, but we do not need the seal active for that anyway. It is my right to have that information. Kakashi interjected smoothly. I believe our time is running out. Let me complete my report. Kakashi finally finished relating his part of the mission. This is troubling indeed. I must ask Jiraiya of the connection between Itachi and Kisame and their similar clothing. It implies that they are part of an organization, and any organization that employs such powerful ninja is to be treated with caution. Naruto agreed completely. I have to release the seal soon, Hiruzen. Is there anything else that is to be confined to this room? Anyone? Kakashi and Hiruzen shook their heads. One last thing, Hiruzen. Let me tell you that I am truly proud of you. But do not worry. I will get that hat back from you in no time. Hiruzen looked 10 years younger after the day's happenings. You deserve it more than I do, Hashirama-sama. You have become a great shinobi and Hokage, Hiruzen. You fought for Konoha all this time and sacrificed much for my legacy to continue. You have more experience in this world than me, and I will not disregard that. Don't get any idea of just handing over that hat to me, though. I will earn it rightfully as Naruto. Hiruzen gave a true smile. I should have expected that. I understand, Naruto. You can release the seal. Naruto deactivated the seal with a sigh of relief, and the room lurched again, denoting them slipping back into the true flow of time. To the ANBU outside, it had just been 2 seconds. Naruto now looked at Hiruzen seriously. Tell me of why my mother left, old man. I need to know. Please tell me. Hiruzen looked sad. I will tell you, Naruto. It is a long story, and I need you to listen carefully. You do know of the reputation of the fourth, don't you? Naruto nodded impatiently. Alongside the fourth fought a kunoichi almost as strong as him. It was your mother, Uzumaki Kushina, also known as the Red Death of Konoha. Together the couple were so strong that they ended the Third War almost by themselves. Naruto knew all this, but listened proudly as Hiruzen described his parents. They were strong indeed. Your father's name was feared in IWA beyond anything else. Namikaze Minato single-handedly destroyed an army of IWA shinobi by his Hiraishin no Jutsu, earning him the name of Yellow Flash of Konoha, as all that the enemies of Konoha saw was a glimpse his yellow hair before he killed them in the hundreds. Your mother, however, inspired the same fear in Kumo. When Minato was engaged with the now Reikage of Kumo-e, who was then a Jounin, the army of Kumo which had assaulted Konoha was free to rampage through our thinly spread forces. Kushina then arrived on the battlefield and annihilated the entire army. She too was extremely fast and a master of kenjutsu. Kushina's long red hair flying as she flashed through the battlefield, and she cut down her enemies earned her the name Red Death. Naruto listened closely as Hiruzen continued. The war was ended after some time, and none of the other villages dared to aggravate Konoha again, fearing our strength. Your mother was pregnant with you after marrying Minato in a ceremony known only to the Council of Konoha and its high-ranking shinobi. You know of the consequences of the Kyuubi affair better than I. Minato was dead, and Kushina was barely alive. Her Uzumaki resilience was not for nothing though, and she made a full recovery in another 2 months, during which time you were placed under the care of Uchiha Mikoto. So Sasuke and he shared a very personal past. Sasuke felt even more like a brother to Naruto after hearing this. The Sandaime continued. The moment she recovered fully, she took you back and began to raise you. But when you were about half a year old, IWA got word of your existence, as did Kumo. To this day, we do not know how the leak happened. Anyway, something terrible began to happen in consequence. There were nearly daily assassination attempts made on you, sometimes causing you terrible wounds. But you always healed yourself. It was the fox's chakra. Thanks for that, Kurama. Naruto thought gratefully. Think nothing of it, Hashirama. You are the best vessel I ever had, you know. Even as an infant your chakra calmed me and made me think of my days as a young kid. Naruto smiled, motioning for Hiruzen to continue. Your mother always thwarted those attempts. We tried to impose sanctions upon Kumo and IWA, but they always denied their actions. Konoha was weary of war, and they had lost their beloved Yondaime, so morale was at a low. We were still recovering from the Kyuubi attack. Hiruzen looked really sad at this point. However, one day when you were about 1.5 years, an assassin stabbed you right through your gut. The assassin was killed, of course, but it left your mother absolutely distraught. She had lost her husband whom she loved, and she had seen her darling son nearly die. She then reached a conclusion. Naruto looked at the old man, his emotions churning. He could hardly remember these events. It was her and Minato's reputation that brought down such hatred against you. You would never be safe as long as you were associated with her. She had too many enemies, so she came to me with a plan. Though it broke her heart completely, she had to let you fade into anonymity and outside her life. Namikaze Naruto would be killed in an assassination staged by Konoha itself, and Uzumaki Naruto would be quietly enrolled in an orphanage. The plan went perfectly. Naruto was now unsure of what to think, so he asked questions. What happened to my mother then? The third side. She accepted a series of S-class missions outside Konoha to draw attention to her and away from you. I was to call her back only when I felt that you were strong enough to defend yourself. I think she lost a piece of her soul back then. Naruto looked down sadly. He understood what had happened and hated the necessity for it, hated the circumstances. Now that I know you are strong enough, I will call her back. Do not judge her too harshly, Naruto. She sacrificed even your love for her to keep you safe, and that is a great sacrifice indeed. Naruto sighed. He did understand and deeply respected and admired Kushina's actions. But the suffering he had endured without her still lingered in the depths of his mind. He could not help but slightly resent her. But as the reborn Shodai, he could view the situation objectively. Kushina had indeed chosen the option that was most feasible, and the choice had to be made fast anyway. He could empathize as he had made many such choices in the First War. He needed to sort his feelings out a little more. When will she be back? Naruto asked Hiruzen. Within a fortnight. You will be reunited with her in a fortnight. Please treat her at least civilly, Naruto. She has suffered deeply. Being reunited with her son will heal at least a part of her. Naruto nodded. You have given me much to think about, old man. I need to go, so saying Naruto walked out with a thoughtful face. Kakashi looked at Sandaime. He will be far greater than even the Shodai Hokage. Won't he, Hiruzen-sama? Hiruzen smiled brightly. He will indeed. 3 days later. Naruto walked leisurely with Sakura and Sasuke. They had just been told by Kakashi that they were nominated for the Chunin exams and could make the choice whether or not to compete. All of them had decided to say yes. They were to come to the academy tomorrow where the first test would be administered. He had thought hard on the issue of his mother and decided that she was a great kunoichi and mother. Anyway, he felt no real need for a parental figure now, so what resentment he would feel at her was lessened. He would wait to meet her and then see. He felt a tug on his consciousness. What, Kurama? Hashirama, I definitely feel the presence of at least one bijou. There might be another as well. I think it has to do with how well they are sealed. The one I sensed for sure is the Ichibi no Shikaku. Be careful. Naruto flared his senses and could clearly feel the presence of Shikaku's Jinchuriki just around the corner. The chakra of the container felt too chaotic to him, so he could conclude only one thing. The container was losing his sanity. He assumed it was due to a weak sealing method. He suddenly felt a spike of the container's bloodlust. They would damage nothing in Konoha on his watch. Thanks for the advice, Kurama. He turned to his teammates. I sense trouble in the next street. Foreign ninja. Do you want to come with me? We might meet some of the competition early. They nodded. The three of them walked purposefully towards the source of the commotion and saw what looked like a clown bullying a kid. A kid that Naruto recognized as Hiruzen's grandson, Konohamaru. He walked towards the clown and called out to him. What do you want? Said the clown in what was meant to be an intimidating tone. Let the kid go, my friend. That is the Sandaime Hokage's grandson you are so busily bullying. It is not considered polite for visiting ninja to assault the relatives of the village's Kage. Is it? Naruto said calmly. The blonde girl turned to the clown. Kankuro, let the kid go. Imagine what would happen if Gaara finds us fooling around. The clown called Kankuro gave an involuntary shiver. His face then hardened. All right, Tamarit, I will let the kid go if he begs for my forgiveness. Naruto looked at the boy exasperatedly. Sasuke stepped up and performed a fast series of hand seals.
Sunsin no Jutsu.
He disappeared, and only appeared on the other side some distance from the group, holding Konohamaru, who he set back on the ground. Kankuru's and Tamari's eyes bugged out. The kid was fast. Naruto could sense the Jinchuriki of Shikaku within their proximity. Obviously, he was trying to hide, suppressing his chakra as much as possible. That would not work on sensory-type ninja. Come out. Ichibi no Jinchuriki, Naruto said, looking directly at Gaara's hiding spot. Tamari and Kankuro turned pale. The blonde knew Gaara's secret. This put the entire plan at jeopardy. They had to inform Baki-sensei of this development as soon as possible. Naruto could sense the anxiety and tension of the two in front of him. It was not normal. Either these two feared the mistreatment of their teammate, or it was something else. A red-headed kid with bags under his eyes appeared in front of Naruto. He studied the blonde for a bit and turned to his teammates. You have disgraced Sunagakure by your actions. Kankuro. Now come both of you, we are leaving. But Gaara-Kankuro opened his mouth and stopped when killing intent flooded the entire street. Shut up or I'll kill you. Kankuro shut his mouth after that. What is your name? Asked Sasuke. Who, me? Tamari said bashfully. The dark-haired boy was very attractive, as was the blonde. But there was something about the blonde that transcended them all, something different. Even Gaara felt that. No, the one with the gourd, Sasuke clarified. I am Sabaku no Gara. I am interested in learning your names as well. He looked at Sasuke and Naruto. Uchiha Sasuke. Uzumaki Naruto. I look forward to fighting you. Mother thirsts for your blood. Uchiha. And yours as well, Uzumaki. She craves yours, said Gaara ominously before leaving with his teammates. Sakura went to Konohamaru to confirm if he was all right, to which the boy nodded. The honored grandson then started ranting about Sasuke's and Naruto's awesomeness. It was obvious to Naruto that the kid was starting to idolize Team 7. Shikaku made his Jinchuriki think he was his mother? What happened to that raccoon? He was always a little on the loose side, but this is too much even for him. Kurama sniggered. Naruto, though, was a strange mix of emotions. He wanted to help his fellow Jinchuriki, but could not do that as Shikaku would immediately recognize him as Hashirama. He could hardly let his secret out so easily. The poor kid would have to control the bijou himself, which meant he had to realize love and conquer hatred. That would be tough for him from what he saw. It would be nigh impossible with the Shikaku passing himself off as the kid's mother, of all things. He started laughing out loud at that, joined by Kurama in his mind, causing Sasuke and Sakura to look at him strangely. What's wrong with you, Dobe? Nothing, Sasuke. I need to go and train. See you tomorrow at the academy for the first round. Still laughing quietly to themselves, Bijou and Jinchuriki made their way back home. Naruto sat happily on a seat in his beloved ramen shop, Ichiraku Ramen Bar. He was currently in the process of scarfing down his 11th bowl of the precious dish. Ayam turned to him and asked, "You really have to stop eating so much, Naruto. It's not good for you, you know. I bet that if I stab you right now with my fork, you will bleed ramen soup." Naruto did not reply and began to stuff his mouth with his 12th bowl of the dish. He had definitely not lost his love for ramen after his awakening. Oh no, it had definitely increased. "Do you really have to stuff yourself like that?" came a female voice to his right. Glancing, he saw two blonde females eating ramen sedately. Both had strong chakras, one with Raitun and the other with both Raitun and Keton. They both seemed to be mildly irritated. The chakra of the one who had spoken to him felt familiar in a strange sort of way. He sensed deeper. "Matatabi!" came the hugely surprised voice of Kurama. Naruto started. What was it with all these Jinchuriki popping up in Konoha at the same time? He looked at the nearby Jinchuriki. "Who are you?" "I am Ni Yujito, and this is Samui. We are Kunoichi from Kumogakure here for the Chunin exams along with our other team member, Omoi. I am Uzumaki Naruto." Naruto introduced himself. Samui just waved at him. Naruto waved back at her enthusiastically and focused on Yujito. "You are special, aren't you, Yujito-san?" Yujito narrowed her eyes at him. "You too are special, Naruto-san." "A sensory type, are you?" Naruto asked her, surprised. "So are you. Let us walk together." "Samui, I am out," Yujito said, her teammate. Naruto and Yujito walked out of the ramen shop, Naruto waving goodbye to Ayam. "Nice to meet you, nearby Jinchuriki." Naruto greeted her, looking at her properly. She was quite pretty, not that he was attracted to her. Her chakra felt extremely strong, filled with pure power that was beyond most humans. A Jinchuriki in control of her bijou. "Nice to meet you as well, Kyubi Jinchuriki." Yujito chuckled. "How could you sense the Kyubi? Its chakra is suppressed by mine at all times," Naruto queried. "It is suppressed quite well, Naruto-san. But I am not Kumo's strongest sensor for nothing. I assume you met Ichibi?" "Of course. Careful of him, he is slightly crazy and will slaughter anything in his path, living or otherwise. I didn't sense any other Jinchuriki in this exam. Did you?" "No, I believe it is just the three of us. See you later, Naruto-san. We have a team meeting about now, let's meet in the exams." "See you." Naruto waved back, watching her thoughtfully. He had no doubt Sarutobi knew of these developments. 3 Jinchuriki competing in a Chunin exam? He had to be on his guard and watch out for Konoha's sake. The next day, Naruto stared exasperatedly as Sasuke accepted a challenge to fight from a weird green spandex wearing genin called Rock Lee. They had successfully detected a genjutsu on the entrance to the exam antechamber, and Sasuke had, in his usual style, attacked the door guards. But their fight was interrupted by Rock Lee, who caught them with his superior speed. Naruto sensed little chakra in the kid, so he concluded that his speed was pure taijutsu. The work that must have taken. The kid had his utmost respect for his hard work. He was a genius of hard work indeed. Though Sasuke had lost much of his drive for vengeance in Wave, he still kept most of his pride as an Uchiha elite. So he was currently headed behind Rock Lee to fight him in a more open space. Naruto had a feeling that Sasuke would get a rude awakening. They stood opposite each other in the hall, Naruto and Sakura watching interestedly. Lee extended his palm, bending his fingers. "I will prove to you that hard work is superior to genius, Uchiha Sasuke. I am the strongest genin in Konoha," he said, and proceeded to do just that. He absolutely pummeled Sasuke, kicking him all over the place. Sasuke could see the kicks but could not keep up with his body. Lee suddenly unwrapped his hand's bandage, yelling, "I will show you the meaning of effort with this move, Sasuke-kun," and leapt into the air. "Lee!" came the voice of a tortoise and an older clone of Lee. "You were told not to use that move." Lee, who was back on the ground, stared with a devastated expression, crying anime tears. "I am sorry, Gai-sensei. I only wanted to prove myself. I accept any punishment you give me." "This is your punishment, my student," yelled Gai-sensei and appeared before Lee and gave him a devastating punch. Lee then walked back from his crater and stood opposite Gai. "I am sorry, Gai-sensei," Lee exclaimed. "It is all right, my precious student. You were only trying to show the flames of your youth. I can understand youth better than anyone." And to the horror of Team 7, Lee and Gai flew into each other's arms, causing a sunset to appear with waves washing up to them. "Kai!" yelled Team 7 in unison, but it was in vain. The sunset did not break until the weird duo had disengaged from their hug. Gai just appeared before them again with stunning speed. "You are the youthful students of Kakashi, aren't you?" "How do you know Kakashi-sensei?" Sakura questioned Gai warily. "He is my youthful and eternal rival. Currently the score stands in my favor. Well, youthful students of Kakashi, it is time for the first round. Good luck." So saying, Gai disappeared. Lee left as well, but had a word of advice for Sasuke. "I am not really the strongest genin in Konoha, Sasuke-kun. That would be my teammate Hyuga Neji. Be wary of him." Sasuke snorted derisively. However strong this Neji was, he was sure that no genin in Konoha even held a candle to Naruto. "We need to go, Sasuke," came Naruto's voice. Sasuke just nodded and followed him into the waiting chamber. The first thing he could sense was a multitude of rather weak chakras. He looked around carefully and evaluated the potential threats. Gaara, as usual, felt strong, as did Yujito, whom he acknowledged with a wave of his hand. Yujito smiled back. There was another team from a new village he heard was called Sound that had entered a team. They too felt moderately strong. Their emotions felt dark as well. But one person truly caught his attention. An unassuming genin wearing a Konoha headband was quietly rearranging a deck of cards. This person was actively suppressing his chakra, but he could not escape from Naruto's acute sensory capabilities. This genin felt of deception, and he had at least Jounin-level chakra. Naruto leisurely walked towards him. "Hey there, who are you and what are those cards about?" The genin smiled at him, but it felt all wrong to Naruto. "I am Yakushi Kabuto, and I am a genin of Konoha. I have taken these exams 7 times and have gathered information on the competition in these Nin-info cards. Would you like any information on your opposition? Uzumaki Naruto." Naruto smiled pleasantly and shook his head, but Sasuke queried, I would like information on Gaara of the Sand, Yujito ni, Rock Lee, and Hyuga Niji. You even know their names? That will make this easy. Gaara, yes. 10 B ranks and 30 C ranks. Not even a scratch on him, and has strong ninjutsu. Everybody's eyes widened. Ni Yujito, great taijutsu, powerful ninjutsu, a kunoichi to watch out for. Her mission stats are unknown. Naruto looked at Yujito curiously. The nearby Jinchuriki winked at him. Finally, we have Hyuga Niji and Rock Lee both on Team Guy. 33 D rank and 5 C rank missions completed. Rock Lee is a powerful taijutsu specialist, ninjutsu unknown. Hyuga Niji is a known prodigy of the Juken style and a strong competitor. Naruto just glanced at them all. They were all quite powerful for Genin. He could feel killer intent coming from the team from sound. Playtime is over. Now it is time for the first round of the Chunin exams. Brats, follow me. Came the gruff voice of a burly scar-faced examiner who gave off an air of extreme intimidation. They nervously followed Scarface into a spacious hall full of desks. I am Marino Ibiki. First round will be a written round. You need to answer at least one question to pass, and there will be 9 questions. At the end of the examination, there will also be a 10th question, the rules for which will be defined on the spot. The genin just stared at him, surprised at the strange rules. There will be observers for this test, and if you are caught more than 5 times, you will be disqualified. Clear? They all nodded. Then let us get started. Naruto stared at their newest proctor, a kunoichi named Mitarashi Anko, who was passing around waivers of death for the genin to sign. They were to enter the Forest of Death with a scroll and survive there for 3 days. Their objective was to get a scroll, heaven or earth, to complete their set. With both scrolls, they were to head for the tower to complete the test. Great, I get to see what has happened to my forest. The first exam was quite innovative, really. Ibiki had put together a good information gathering test, as the questions were all well above genin level. He had cleverly planted a few Chunin test takers from whom the genin were expected to gather information. The ways of gathering information too really surprised him. He of course could answer all the questions. They were too simple to him. Sasuke had predictably used Sharingan, the Hyuga their Byakugan, and Sakura of course actually knew the answers to the questions. Gaara though had used an innovative trick. He made an eye out of sand to spy on the others. That left him impressed. The Jinchuriki was good. Ibiki had ended their party though, asking if they were confident enough to take the 10th question. Those who answered the question wrong would never be Chunin, he said. Those who left right then would have a shot next year. To Naruto it was obvious that it was a test of confidence, so he stayed right where he was. Most of the competitors had stayed too. Ibiki then ended the test abruptly, saying they had all passed. Apparently, the question he had asked just then was the mysterious 10th question, and the remaining had all proved that they were worthy of continuing with their conviction in remaining. Putting off thoughts of the first exam, he glanced at Mitarashi Anko. This kunoichi's chakra felt essentially the same as Kabuto's. That was intriguing. What was the connection between those two? His attention was occupied suddenly by Akusa kunoichi, who handed Anko back her dagger. Her chakra felt full of malice. What was more, her chakra felt a bit like his own. Just what was such a shinobi doing in the Chunin exams? She easily had Kage-level chakra. No, that was no normal genin, and she seemed to be shooting unhealthy glances at Sasuke. They would need to be careful with that kunoichi. She was a real danger, unlike these other children. Be careful of that Kusa kunoichi, Sasuke. She seems really strong. Sasuke turned to him and nodded discreetly. Sakura just looked intimidated. All right, brats. It is time for you to begin. Enter the forest through your designated gates. Now, Anko yelled. They shot through their designated gates, entering the forest in rapid blurs. Naruto signaled them to stop after about half an hour of traveling. We are deep enough into the forest and we really need a plan. What do you say we do? Sakura spoke. I say we follow the river. We have a heaven scroll, and we may encounter some team eventually as they too would naturally gravitate towards the river. We can take the scroll from them easily by ambush as we have a sensor on our team. An excellent plan, Sasuke said, nodding to Sakura, causing her to blush. Thus they had moved steadily, finding and following the river on its course. Naruto was impressed. His forest had grown quite a bit. The trees seemed to recognize him, and a warm, comforting feeling filled the air as he walked by them. It had been a day since the beginning of the second exam, and Naruto was getting alarmed. He could sense not even a single team on their path, and that was fishy. Naruto turned to his teammates. I find it odd that we have not been attacked at all, and I can sense no one in our vicinity. I don't like this. Sasuke nodded. I too can feel it. Something feels wrong about how easy all this is becoming. Sakura looked worried. Naruto decided to just pause and consider their next move. They were just about out of rations but still had plenty of water. He decided, we need more rations. You know I can get fruits enough for the journey. Sasuke nodded. But we need